Hey everyone, tonight we'll delve into the story of a city that history forgot, and we'll ask a question that cuts to the heart of all mythology. What happens when a god's true name, their most secret and powerful names, erased from existence? The air grows heavy when we speak of such things. I can almost hear the ancient world stirring around you. The whisper of wind across the high grasses of a lonely Aegean island. The distant rhythmic clang of a smith's hammer on hot bronze. The scent of salt and wild thyme carried on the breeze. These are the echoes of a time when the veil between worlds was thin, a time of grand heroes and terrifying deities. But some stories are so deeply buried, their truth so dangerous, that they were meant to be lost forever. As you listen, you probably won't want to believe what you are about to hear. The tale feels too large, too impossible for our modern world. So before the tension gets too high, take a moment to like the episode and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your support makes these long journeys into the past possible. When you're done, I'd love to see you post your city, your country, and the local time in the comments. It's always a powerful feeling to know where in the world these old stories are finding a new home. Now, close your eyes, imagine the ancient mountains, and let's unravel this epic tale together. You are not a hero. You are not a warrior or a demigod. You are a keeper of dusty things, a linguist who specializes in the ghosts of dead languages. Your world is one of silence and patience, spent in the climate-controlled archives beneath the Archaeological Museum of Heraklion on the island of Crete. Here, history is not a grand narrative, but a shattered mosaic, and your job is to find the pieces that fit. Tonight, you are working late, surrounded by the ghosts of the Bronze Age. The air hums with the low drone of dehumidifiers, a sound that has become the background music to your life. Before you lies a wooden crate, one of dozens recovered from the sea decades ago and left uncatalogued. The manifest is maddeningly vague. Late Minoan. Miscellaneous votives. Origin, unknown. Most of your colleagues dismiss the contents as provincial junk. But you have always been drawn to the anomalies. The items that don't quite fit the tidy narratives of academic consensus. This crate is full of them. It reminds you of the famous Uluburun shipwreck, that incredible time capsule discovered off the coast of Turkey, a vessel carrying treasures from 7 different cultures. It was proof that the ancient world was a place of vast and mysterious connections, of trade routes that crossed paths with forgotten kingdoms. This crate feels like it came from one of those forgotten stops. Your fingers, stained with the dust of millennia, brush over corroded bronze figurines and fragments of pottery. Then you feel it. A tablet. It's not the familiar baked clay of a linear B inventory, brittle and coarse. It's something else entirely. It is a rectangle of polished black stone, cool and heavy in your hands. Its surface is smooth and dark as a starless midnight sky. It's covered in a script you have never seen. A beautiful, terrifying lattice of elegant, spiraling glyphs intertwined with sharp, aggressive lines. It looks like a language conceived by both poets and executioners. There's a bizarre quality to it, an anomalous function that defies simple explanation. Under the sterile, white fluorescent light of the archive, the tablet is inert, its carvings shallow and unremarkable. But as you lean over it, your own shadow falls across the stone. In that patch of darkness, the script awakens. It seems to draw the shadow into itself, and the lines begin to glow with a faint, internal luminescence, the color of a deep sea trench. It is an artifact that thrives in the absence of light, a thing born of secrets and whispers. I remember holding objects from the deep past, and some of them have a strange weight, a presence. But this would have felt like holding a sleeping predator. You work for hours, tracing the symbols, whispering phonetic guesses into the silent room. Nothing happens. The city outside has grown quiet. Storm is rolling in from the sea, and you can hear the first patter of rain against the high, narrow windows of the basement archive. Then, the lights flicker. Once, twice, they die, plunging you into absolute blackness. The hum of the machinery ceases, and the sudden, profound silence is more jarring than any sound. In the dark, you hear it. It is not a sound that enters through your ears, but one that simply arrives in your consciousness, fully formed. A whisper, spoken by 1,000 voices at once, some old, some young, some pleading, some commanding. They speak a single word, a name that feels heavy and strange on the tongue of your mind. Ethelberg, the name is a key. The moment you comprehend it, the tablet in your hands grows warm. The glowing script melts and reforms, the alien letters dissolving and rearranging themselves into a new pattern. It is no longer a page of text, it is a map, a chart of the heavens, showing constellations and patterns that have not been visible from this hemisphere for over 3,000 years. This is one of those ancient mysteries that scholars dream of, a doorway to a world thought to be nothing more than myth. The storm breaks its leash, the wind howls, and the rain lashes against the building. The power remains dead. In your hands, the tablet is the only source of light, a ghostly blue glow that paints your face in ethereal light. The whispers return, no longer just a name, but fractured warnings, fragments of a forgotten litany. You hear oaths live in the cut, but the pact is dust. You hear the loom mother sleeps, the thread is silent, and most chillingly you hear, when stars shift, grief shifts with them, and the sky cracks. This is the language of Greek mythology, but twisted, broken, speaking of deities in peril. A strange pressure builds in the small room, the air growing cold, and thick with the scent of ozone and, impossibly, the sharp, clean smell of salt water and wet rock. It is as if the sea itself is seeping through the stone walls. You look up, toward the small window high on the wall. It no longer shows the dark, rain-slicked alley behind the museum. Through the glass, you see a churning, violent ocean under a sky of utterly alien stars. The world you knew is gone. The tablet was not a relic. It was a summons. It was an invitation from a place that had fought to be forgotten. But as the foundations of your reality dissolved into a tempest of impossible scale, the question that remained was this. Were you being brought here to find this lost world of heroes and deities, or were you being dragged down into its grave? Word count, 1085, awaiting continue. The world does not fade. It shatters. The concrete floor of the archive cracks and falls away into a swirling vortex of salt water and roaring wind. The shelves of priceless artifacts, your life's work, are swallowed by the tempest. For a timeless moment, you are suspended in a chaotic void between places. A passenger on a current of impossible energy. The tablet is a stone anchor in your hand, the only solid thing in a universe of dissolution. Then, with a gut-wrenching lurch, you are deposited onto solid ground. You land hard on your hands and knees, the breath knocked from your lungs. The tablet skitters away from you, its light extinguished. It is now just a cold, dark stone. You gasp, not from the fall, but from the sudden, overwhelming sensory assault. The air is so thick with salt you can taste it on your teeth. It's the smell of a deep, primal ocean, clean and brutally cold. The ground beneath you is not sand, but a fine black grit that feels like powdered glass. You are on a beach, but a beach from a nightmare. Colossal waves, the color of bruised plums, crash against jagged obsidian cliffs that rise like broken teeth into the churning violet sky. Overhead, the alien constellations you saw on the map burn with a cold, unwavering light, their patterns a mockery of the familiar stars you've known your entire life. This is the unseen shore. Your modern clothes, a simple shirt and trousers, are instantly soaked with freezing spray, clinging to your skin. The cold is profound, seeping into your bones. This place feels geologically wounded, as if born from a cataclysm. It reminds you of descriptions of Thera after its eruption, the Bronze Age catastrophe that buried the city of Akrotiri under 50 meters of ash and pumice, sending tsunamis across the Aegean and possibly birthing the legend of Atlantis. This coastline feels like that moment of creation and destruction, frozen in time. A world forged in fire and drowned by the sea. I have stood on many ancient shores, from the black sands of Parisa to the windswept coasts of Orkney. I have felt the weight of history under my feet, the sense of time layered like sediment. But this was different. This was not a place where history had happened. This was a place where history was being held at bay, pushed back by the sheer raw power of myth. You watch the sea, mesmerized by its terrifying beauty. Now there's something deeply strange about the water here. When a wave withdraws from the shore, the water doesn't simply flow back. It seems to hesitate. For a split second, the foam clings to the black sand, forming intricate, branching patterns that look unnervingly like the spiral script from the tablet. Then, just as you recognize the shape, the patterns dissolve, pulled back into the churning chaos of the next wave. It is a thinking ocean, a breathing entity that writes its secrets on the sand only to erase them an instant later. This is no natural sea. It is an element bound by some ancient arcane law. The storm that brought you here begins to relent. The wind's howl softens to a mournful sigh, and the deluge of rain lessens to a persistent, chilling drizzle. As the curtain of the storm lifts, you see it. Inland, perhaps a mile away, silhouetted against the bruised twilight sky, is a city. It is not the romantic ruin of your imagination. It is whole, alive, and utterly impossible. Towers of a dark metallic substance rise toward the sky, connected by high, elegant bridges. A massive wall, seemingly cast from a single piece of dark bronze, encircles it. This must be Ethelberg, the city named in the Whispers, a place that should not exist. A path, paved with the same polished black stone as the tablet, leads from the edge of the beach directly toward a colossal gate in the city wall. It is a clear, unambiguous invitation. You retrieve the inert tablet and tuck it securely into your waistband. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the deep rhythmic bass of the waves. There is no other choice. To stay on this shore is to be consumed by the intelligent script-writing sea. The path is your only hope of survival. As you take your first tentative steps onto the smooth, cold stone, a new sound reaches you, carried on the damp wind. It is not thunder, nor the sea. It is a deep, resonant grinding noise. A rhythmic, metallic groaning, like impossibly heavy gears turning or immense locks sliding home. The sound seems to emanate from the city itself. A sense of dread coils in your stomach. The path was an invitation, yes, but what kind of host announces a guest's arrival with the sound of a closing trap? Word count, 10:45 awaiting continue. The walk to the city gate is the longest mile of your life. The black stone path is unnervingly smooth, as if paved yesterday. Yet the sheer scale of the landscape screams of impossible antiquity. The city wall looms higher with every step, a sheer cliff of dark, patinated bronze that seems to drink the violet light from the sky. It is a single, seamless structure, with no visible joints or masonry lines, as if it were poured from a divine crucible in a single, cataclysmic act. The air is so saturated with sea salt that the metal itself seems to weep, with long, greenish-blue streaks of verdigris running down its face like ancient tears. You can smell the sharp, metallic Thames of the bronze, mingling with the ever-present brine. This is Ethelberg, a city of bronze and salt. The rhythmic grinding you heard from the shore grows louder, resolving into the sound of immense stone and metal friction. It's coming from the gateway ahead. The entrance is a perfect arch, 100 feet high, framing a gate of the same dark bronze, intricately carved with the same swirling, aggressive script you saw on the tablet. Flanking this archway, unmoving, are two figures. At first, you think they are statues, colossal monuments to forgotten kings or deities, but as you draw closer, a cold certainty grips you. They are not statues. They are guardians, automatons. Each one stands 30 feet tall. Forged from the same dark bronze as the walls, their humanoid forms powerful and severe. They are ancient, their metal bodies pitted and scarred by millennia of exposure to the salt air. Yet they stand with an unnerving readiness. You are immediately reminded of the stories your professors used to tell about Talos, the mythological bronze giant of Crete. He was said to be the last of the bronze race of men, forged by Hephaestus himself to circle the island 3 times a day, protecting Europa by hurling boulders at invading ships. These silent giants are his kin, born of the same impossible mythic craft. But there is a bizarre alien detail about them that sets them apart from any legend. They are not mindless machines. Their heads are tilted slightly downward, as if in perpetual vigilance, and where their eyes should be. There are 2 large, unpolished spheres of dark amber. They are not glowing or shining. They are dull, opaque, and filled with tiny imperfections, like pieces of fossilized resin torn from some prehistoric forest and washed ashore for centuries. They do not scan or move. They simply exist, fixed upon the path before them. As you approach, they do not react to your presence. They do not shift their weight or raise a hand. Their stillness is absolute, and it is more terrifying than any threat of violence. They are not guards who patrol. They are guardians who witness asterisk. You halt 20 yards from the gate, your breath catching in your throat. The grinding sound intensifies, and the massive bronze gate begins to slide upward into the wall above, its movement impossibly smooth for its size. It is opening for you. You did not touch it, did not speak a command. You look at the amberite automatons. They remain frozen, their dead eyes aimed in your direction, but seemingly looking through you. Then you feel a faint warmth spreading from your hip, where the black stone tablet is tucked away. It is your key, your passport. The automatons are not ignoring you. They are acknowledging the artifact you carry. You're not an intruder. You're an expected guest. A proverb etched into the bronze threshold seems to materialize in your mind. A fragment of this world's logic, where gods walk, bronze remembers. The city and its sentinels remember the power you now carry. Stepping over that threshold is like stepping into a soundproof room. The roar of the sea, the sigh of the wind, it all vanishes, cut off as if by a knife. You are in a vast, silent courtyard. The streets stretching before you are paved in that same polished black stone, reflecting the violet sky like dark mirrors. The buildings are geometrically baffling, with angles that seem to shift and walls that curve in defiance of physics. Everything is bronze, black stone, and silence. There are no people, no carts, no animals, no distant sounds of life. The city isn't ruined or abandoned, feels pristine, clean, and utterly profoundly empty. The grinding sound returns, and you turn to see the great bronze gate sliding shut behind you, sealing you in. The finality of the sound echoes in the unnatural quiet. The city is not dead. A dead place has ghosts, echoes the dignity of decay. This place is not dead. It is waiting. It is a stage perfectly set, whose actors are hidden in the wings. But as you stand alone in the heart of that terrifying silence, the question that freezes the blood in your veins is not where the people are, but what kind of beings inhabit a city guarded by silent machines and built for an audience of none. Word count 1063, awaiting continue. The silence presses in, a physical weight on your ears. You take a tentative step away from the sealed gate, your footsteps echoing unnaturally in the vast, empty courtyard. You choose a street at random, a wide avenue flanked by buildings of black stone and bronze that lean into the sky at unsettling angles. It feels like walking through a geometric proof designed by a madman. There is no dust, no litter, no sign of decay. The city is a pristine architectural corpse. The only movement is the slow, swirling dance of your own breath condensing in the cold, still air. You walk for what feels like an hour, the oppressive quiet amplifying your own heartbeat into a frantic drum. Then you hear something. It is not a sound you hear with your ears, but a low thrum you feel in the soles of your feet, a subtle vibration in the black stone beneath you. It pulls you forward, a siren song of silent energy. You follow it, turning down a narrow, winding alley that opens suddenly into a vast circular plaza. And here the silence is broken. Here there are people. They are not solid. They are like figures seen through old, warped glass, their forms shimmering and indistinct. They move with a slow, deliberate grace, their edges blurring into the violet twilight. They are ghosts, or afterimages, caught in a perpetual loop of action. The plaza is their stage. This is the market of bartered prayers. There are no stalls, no merchants shouting their wares. Instead, the plaza is dotted with dozens of waist-high stone pedestals, their tops smooth and slightly concave like shallow bowls. Each pedestal hums with that low vibration you felt, the source of the plaza's subtle energy. The shimmering figures, the mortals of Ethelberg, are gathered at these altars. You watch. Unseen, as a man with the stooped shoulders of a farmer approaches one, he places his weathered hands into the stone bowl, closes his eyes, his face a mask of concentration. You see a faint silvery wisp of light, no thicker than a spider's thread, pull from his temple. It snakes through the air for a moment, shimmering with ethereal colors, before being drawn down into the stone, which absorbs it with a soft final pulse. On the ground beside the pedestal, a broken shovel head, its wooden handle snapped, instantly mends itself. The metal flows back together, the handle reforms from splinters into solid wood. The farmer picks it up, his face devoid of wonder, his eyes now holding a new, faint vacancy. He turns and walks away, his shimmering form dissolving back into the twilight from which it came. You realize what you have witnessed. He traded a memory for a mended tool. This is the currency of Ethelberg. Not coin, not grain, but pieces of the soul. You recall the ancient Roman religious concept of asterisk do ut de, asterisk I give, so that you may give. It was a contractual view of faith, where offerings were made in direct expectation of a divine favor. Here, in this lost city, that principle has been twisted into its most terrifying and literal conclusion. These people are not praying for miracles. They're conducting transactions with absentee deities. Your attention is drawn to a woman near the center of the plaza. She is young, and her form seems more solid, more present than the others. She kneels at a pedestal, her hands trembling as she places them on the stone. A silver wisp, brighter and more vibrant than the farmer's, is drawn from her. For a fleeting instant, within that thread of light, you see an image, the face of a laughing baby, the memory of her child's first laugh. The pedestal absorbs it greedily. In the stone bowl, a single, perfectly formed loaf of bread materializes, still warm steam rising from its golden crust. The woman takes the bread, clutches it to her chest, and a single, silent tear traces a path down her shimmering cheek. The joy is gone from her face, replaced by a hollow relief. The bizarre, defining rule of this place becomes chillingly clear. The gods, the unseen powers of this city, do not want sacrifice of flesh or treasure. They are connoisseurs of experience. They feed on moments of profound human emotion, love, grief, discovery, joy. They are harvesting the very essence of what it means to be alive. These are not the capricious, passionate deities of Greek mythology you have studied. They are something far colder, more parasitic. These are the ancient mysteries laid bare, not as grand drama, but as grim, soul-crushing economics. The city survives, but its people are being hollowed out, one precious memory at a time. You watch them come and go, these ghosts of want, trading their pasts for a meager present, the memory of a sunset for a mended pot, a cherished song for a cup of clean water. It is a system of perfect, terrible balance. But as you see the vacant look in their eyes, the slow erasure of their spirits, a chilling question forms in your mind. This is not a sustainable economy. It is a slow, methodical consumption. What happens to a city, and what happens to its gods, when its people finally have no memories left to give? Word count, 1099, awaiting continue. A profound sense of cold dread settles over you, a chill that has nothing to do with the twilight air. It's the cold of revelation. You are standing in the heart of a vast, divine abattoir, where the currency is the soul and the butcher is an unseen god. You watch the shimmering figures drift to and from the humming pedestals, their movements becoming repetitive, hypnotic. They are ghosts trapped in the machine of their own survival. For a moment, I can almost feel what it's like to be one of them. To be so desperate for a single loaf of bread that the memory of your own child's face becomes a price you are willing to pay. It's an unbearable thought. Then, one of the figures breaks the pattern. From the edge of the plaza, a woman walks toward you. She is not shimmering or translucent. She is solid, real. Her feet make soft, deliberate sounds on the black stone. She is old, her face a roadmap of deep lines. But her eyes are fiercely intelligent, holding none of the vacancy you see in the others. She wears a simple, unadorned robe of dark gray wool, and in her hands, she cradles a small clay bowl filled with what looks like seawater. As she gets closer, you see it is not just water. Tiny motes of silver light, like captured stars, swirl within it. She stops before you, her gaze unwavering. "You are not one of the echoes," she says. Her voice is a bizarre and unsettling thing. It is a dry, rasping whisper, the sound of sand scuttling across a tomb floor. It's as if her vocal cords are made of dust. She looks at the tablet tucked into your waistband, and a flicker of something recognition, or perhaps resignation, crosses her face. You carry the keystone. So, the fraying is worse than I feared. She is the Oath Keeper. Her very presence feels ancient, woven into the fabric of the city's strange reality. This market, she whispers, gesturing with her head toward the spectral transactions, is the heart of the pact. When Ethelberg was sealed away from the river of time, a bargain was struck. The first patron, the king god who resides in the spire, offered this city eternal sanctuary from the wars of gods and men. In exchange, the people offered their resonance, the echoes of their lives, their strongest emotions, their most vivid memories. Her explanation clarifies the horror. This was not coercion. It was a contract, foundational pact. An oath was sworn, she continues, and as she speaks the word oath, her voice changes. The raspiness vanishes, replaced by a tone that is impossibly clear, resonant, and mournful, like the ring of a single. Massive bronze bells struck in a vast, empty hall. Asterisk, asterisk, the oath was life for life, memory for stone, feeling for safety. A closed circle is perfect and eternal. Asterisk, asterisk, then, the bell-like clarity fades, and the sandy whisper returns. But eternity is a long time. The circle is breaking. She is the living embodiment of her title. I've read of the ancient Greek belief in asterisk Korkos asterisk, the personification of an oath, a grim deity who would pursue and punish any who broke their sworn word. This woman is like a priestess in service to that concept, her very being tied to the sanctity of the city's founding promise. The pact is fraying, she rasps, her eyes drifting to the shimmering figures. The descendants of the first people are diluted. Their joys are smaller, their griefs are shallower. The memories they offer are like watered-down wine. They provide no nourishment for the patron. The god starves, and in his hunger, the city weakens. She holds up the bowl of glowing water. This is all that is left of the purest offerings. The first memories given, distilled. I am the keeper of that oath, and this is my burden. To watch the promise fade to nothing. Her role has a bizarre, tragic quirk. She can only speak of the pact with that divinely clear voice. All other speech is dust and whispers, as if the mundane world is beneath the notice of the great oath she serves. She is a living artifact, a conduit for a dying law. She looks at you, her eyes piercing, the keystone you carry. It was created as a failsafe at the moment the pact was sealed, key to the outside, to be used only if the circle was poisoned. Its activation means the foundation is moments from crumbling. Your arrival is the final omen. She takes a step closer, the silver lights in her bowl swirling faster. The god grows desperate. The people grow hollow. But I do not believe this is simply the slow decay of time, she whispers, her voice barely audible over the humming of the pedestals. Something new has entered the equation, an impurity. I feel it in the tremors of the stone, in the sour taste of the air. She stares into your eyes, her own filled with the weight of 1,000 years of thankless vigilance. The question she asks is not for you to answer now, but for you to carry into the city's heart. The pact was a closed circuit, a perfect balance between a god and his people. But what happens to the balance when a third party begins to bleed the circuit for its own gain? Word count, 1093, awaiting continue. The Oathkeeper Hespera, you decide to call her in your mind after the evening start turns from the spectral market. Her grip on the bowl of swirling light is tight, her knuckles white. The patron in his spire and the people in the plaza are only half of the story, she rasps, her dusty voice pulling you from your horrified trance. They are the celestial and the mortal, the sky and the earth. But here in Ethelberg, something else sleeps beneath the stone. Something far older. She begins to walk, and you have no choice but to follow, leaving the silent, desperate ghosts to their grim transactions. She leads you not through the grand avenues, but into a maze of narrow alleyways where the oppressive architecture seems to press in on you. She stops before a solid wall of black stone, indistinguishable from any other. Reaching out a thin, dry hand, she touches a specific spot. There is no click, no grinding of gears, only a deep, resonant hum, and a section of the wall dissolves into a shimmering curtain of darkness. The pact was made in the sky, she whispers, gesturing for you to enter. But The foundations of this place rest in the soil. The king god built his city on another's territory. It's an arrogant bargain destined to fail. You step through the curtain of shadow, and the world changes. You're on a spiral staircase, carved directly from the living rock beneath the city. The air is no longer cold and sterile, but damp, thick with the smell of wet earth, of deep roots, of things growing and decaying in eternal darkness. The descent is long. The only light comes from Hespera's bowl of captured memories, which casts a soft, silvery glow on the dripping stone walls. The silence of the city above is replaced by a profound quiet, the quiet of the deep earth, punctuated only by the slow, rhythmic drip of water. The staircase opens into a cavern so immense your mind struggles to grasp its scale. The ceiling is lost in darkness, but you can see that it is a tangled mass of colossal roots, thick as ancient trees, petrified and black. This is the underside of the city. A sickly, greenish light emanates from patches of bioluminescent moss clinging to the roots and walls, painting the space in an eerie submarine glow. In the center of this cavern stands the Loom Mother's temple. It is not a building, but a presence. Gigantic loom, 40 feet high and twice as wide, dominates the space. This is not the loom of the Greek Moirai, the three sisters who spin, measure, and cut the thread of mortal life. This is something far more primordial. The loom's frame is constructed from the same dark, petrified roots that form the cavern ceiling. But these are slick with a black, viscous ichor that drips slowly onto the cavern floor. Instead of wool or linen, the threads that stretch across this titanic frame are the very same silvery wisps of memory you saw being harvested in the market above. They glow with a soft internal light, forming a vast, shimmering tapestry. And then you see her, the Loom Mother. She is not a woman, not a monster, but a force of nature given form. Fused to the back of the loom, or perhaps growing from it, is a being of immense size, shrouded in shadow. You cannot see a face or a body, only a multitude of long, spindly arms, dozens of them, moving with a hypnotic, tireless rhythm. Her hands, like spiders of bone and shadow, fly across the tapestry, pulling threads, knotting them, weaving them into the ever-growing picture of Ethelberg's existence. This is the chthonic deity who weaves the city's fate. The most bizarre detail, however, is not the sight, but the sound or lack thereof. The loom is utterly silent. The massive frame does not creak, the shuttle makes no sound as it passes, but the threads themselves, they sing ***. As your senses adjust, you can feel their vibrations in the air. Each thread hums with the frequency of the memory it contains. A thin, pale blue thread of sorrow emits a low, mournful thrum. A bright, golden thread of joy buzzes with a high, warm energy. The entire tapestry is a silent symphony of feeling, the collective consciousness of Ethelberg made tangible. She is the weaver, Hespera whispers, her voice filled with a reverence that borders on fear. She was here before the stone was laid, before the pact was sworn. She weaves what is given. The memories of the living become the fabric of the future. Hespera points a trembling finger toward the tapestry. For millennia, the pattern was stable. A gentle, repeating cycle of lives lived and remembered. But look, she directs your gaze to a section of the weaving, amongst the shimmering silver threads. New fibers are being introduced. They are coarse and black, like strands of burnt nerve tissue. They do not glow. They absorb the light of the threads they touch, creating dead spots in the vibrant tapestry. And they feel wrong. They radiate a cold, predatory hunger. This is the impurity Hespera rasps. These are not the memories of the people. This is something else. Something being fed to the weaver. Something that poisons the pattern. You watch in horror as one of the weaver's spidery hands takes a thick black thread and begins to weave it directly toward a brilliant, pulsating silver strand, the brightest one on the entire loom. It hums with a power that resonates deep in your bones. That, Hespera says, her voice cracking, is the thread of the founding. The memory of the original pact itself. The loom continues its silent, inexorable work, pulling the thread of decay and the thread of creation closer together. The question that hangs in the cold, damp air is one of catastrophic importance. Who has the power to corrupt the city's very past? And why would they command the weaver to unmake the world she herself has woven? Word count 1098, awaiting continue. The weaver's spidery hand moves with a terrifying, dispassionate grace, pulling the black thread of corruption on a collision course with the brilliant, pulsating silver thread of the city's founding pact. Time seems to slow down. You can feel the silent, humming song of the loomed music of this world's soul-building toward a catastrophic dissonance. No, Hespera breathes, her dusty voice cracking with a despair so profound it feels ancient. If it touches, if that poison touches the root of the oath, all will be unwritten. The very concept of truth in this reality is about to be retroactively annihilated. But the threads do not meet. Just as the black fiber is about to make contact, the entire cavern shudders with a violent, low-frequency tremor. It's not an earthquake. It does not move from side to side, but from top to bottom, a gut-wrenching jolt from above. Dust and tiny petrified root fragments rain down from the dark ceiling. A deep, groaning sound, like a dying behemoth, echoes from the surface world. The weaver's many hands freeze for a single, unprecedented moment. The silent symphony of the loom stutters. Then the rhythmic weaving resumes, but its pattern is now frantic, chaotic. The black threads are multiplying, spreading like a cancer through the tapestry of memory. It has begun, Hespera rasps, her eyes wide with terror. She grabs your arm with surprising strength, her dry fingers like bird talons. We must go up. Now, the sky is breaking. She turns and flees back, toward the spiral staircase. The bowl of captured starlight bobbing frantically in her grip, casting wild, dancing shadows on the damp walls. You follow, your heart pounding, scrambling up the worn stone steps. As you ascend, climbing from the chthonic depths back toward the city proper, your mind races. You think of all the ancient cultures that looked to the heavens for meaning, for omens. The Chaldean priests who created intricate star charts, believing the fate of empires was written in the movements of the planets. The Romans, who saw comets as terrifying portents of disaster. After Julius Caesar's assassination, a comet blazed in the sky for 7 days and was universally interpreted as a sign of his soul ascending to the heavens, a justification for his deification. Celestial events were never just astronomical. They were divine communication, affirmations, or violations of cosmic law. The groan you heard from above was the sound of Ethelberg receiving such a message, a confirmation that its most fundamental law had been broken. You burst back out through the shimmering curtain of shadow into the city, and the change is immediate and sickening. The calm violet twilight is gone. The sky is now a uniform, nauseating dome of bruised ochre, the color of old blood and decay. The air is thick, heavy, and carries a static charge that makes the fine hairs on your arms stand on end. You can taste metal and ozone. The entire city feels like the moment before a lightning strike. Then you look up. You see the first cracks in the sky. Directly above the central needle-like spire of the patron god, the heavens are fractured. A web of thin black fissures has spread across the ochre firmament, like a sheet of porcelain struck by a hammer. It's not a meteorological phenomenon. It is a physical, structural failure of this reality's container. This is not a sky. It is a dome, a shell, and it is breaking apart. Through the largest of the cracks, a sliver of deeper, colder darkness is visible. And from it leaks a faint, clinical white light that does not belong in this world. It is the sterile light of a reality beyond this myth, the world you came from. This celestial omen comes with a bizarre, unsettling sensory detail, has a sound. If you strain your hearing, pushing past the hum of the market pedestals and the electric crackle in the air, you can hear a faint, high-pitched, crystalline ringing. It is the sound of cooling glass just before it shatters, a pure, terrifying note of immense structural tension. This is the sound of a divine Lothar, great pact of Ethelberg's, napping under a strain it was never meant to bear. The deities of this place are not merely characters in a story. They are the architects of its physics, and their failure is causing reality itself to crumble. Hespera lets out a soft, guttural cry of pure anguish. She stares at the spreading fissures, her face a mask of horrified disbelief. The pact was not just an oath sworn in words, she whispers, her voice a dry rattle. It was the mortar that holds the sky in place. The corruption in the loom has poisoned the foundation, and now the walls are coming down. Down in the plaza, the shimmering ghosts of the citizens continue their endless, sorrowful bartering, completely oblivious to the cosmic catastrophe unfolding above them. They trade their souls for trifles, while the very sky that shelters them breaks apart. The sight is grotesquely poignant. Their world is ending, and they are too hollowed out to even notice. Suddenly, one of the cracks widens with a silent shudder. The high-pitched ringing intensifies. In the sliver of alien darkness, a new point of light appears. It is not one of the familiar, cold stars of Ethelberg's sky. It is something else. It pulses with a slow, rhythmic, malevolent intelligence. Hespera's breath catches. "It is not a star of our heavens," she rasps, her eyes fixed on the pulsing light. "It is an eye." Something is looking in. The breaking of the pact has not gone unnoticed. But the question that now hangs in the charged and dying air is what unknown power, ancient and terrible, has been waiting for this very moment to peer through the breach. Word count 1097, awaiting continue. The single, pulsing point of light in the fissure overhead holds an unbearable weight. It is not the distant, indifferent twinkle of a star. It is the focused, predatory gaze of a conscious observer. Hespera shields her eyes as if from a physical blow, stumbling back a step. The bowl of captured memories in her hands dimmed, its swirling silver motes shrinking from the alien light. "The old laws are dead," she whispers, her voice losing its dusty rasp, becoming thin and frail. "The seal is broken. We are seen." Suddenly a voice rips through the unnatural silence of the city. It is not a spoken word, but a telepathic thunderclap that resonates directly in your skull, powerful enough to make your teeth ache and your vision swim. It is a single, guttural, name-like syllable, sound of immense power and primordial rage, a name that feels like it was torn from the throat of a dying star. And across the city, every ghost, every shimmering echo of a citizen freezes. The farmer who mended his shovel, the woman who bought her bread, the dozens of others looping through their sad transactions, they all stop mid-motion. Their indistinct heads turn imperfect, chilling synchronicity toward the central spire. Their vacant, shimmering faces, for the first time, hold an expression. It is one of pure, absolute, soul-shattering terror. They are not merely afraid. They recognize the name. It is a key that has unlocked a buried vestigial fear deep within their hollowed-out consciousnesses. Then, from their collective spectral throats, comes a whisper, a unified, sighing exhalation of that same terrible name, an echo of the Banished One. It is a name so profoundly forbidden that even its shadow, spoken by ghosts, carries an apocalyptic weight. You realize with dawning horror that this is the same name, the same guttural syllable. It's the first word you ever heard from the Blackstone tablet, back in the darkness of the archive. The word that brought you here. This act of speaking the forbidden name is the final violation. It is a taboo so deep it functions like a law of physics, and its breaking triggers an immediate and catastrophic response. The black threads in the weaver's loom must now be swarming, the tapestry of reality unraveling at an impossible speed. The high crystalline ringing of the cracking sky intensifies to a piercing shriek. A new fissure splinters across the ochre dome, wider than the others, and from it something begins to fall. It is not rain, it is a fine black ash, like cremated dreams. It drifts down slowly, coating the pristine streets and buildings of Ethelberg in a uniform layer of gray death. It does not land on you or Hespera, but it clings to the spectral citizens, staining their shimmering forms, making them look like charred phantoms. The city of bronze and salt is becoming a city of ash and sorrow. This event mirrors a peculiar, dark facet found in many real-world beliefs. From the Abrahamic, ineffable name of God to the secret, true names of Egyptian deities like Ra. In Egyptian mythology, the goddess Isis tricked Ra into revealing his true name, thereby gaining power over him. Knowing a god's true name gave one mastery over them. But here the inverse is true. Speaking the name of the Banished One does not grant power over it. It summons its power * down upon you *. It is a self-destruct sequence built into the very language of the cosmos. He has been unnamed, Hespera moans, her face ashen. She is staring at the central spire, the residence of the city's slumbering patron god. To speak the name of the banished is to erase the name of the enthroned. It is the ultimate blasphemy. The final negation. Her words are a strange, mythic equation. One name's utterance cancels out the other. The telepathic thunderclap rolls through your mind again, but this time it is followed by a cascade of images. A psychic torrent of information broadcast from the being beyond the fissure. You see visions of a cosmos before this one, a battlefield of primordial deities where creation was a violent, bloody act. You see this banished one, a being of living shadow and cold fire, defeated not by force, but by a coalition of gods who performed a ritual of unnaming, a complex act of cosmic magic that erased its very concept from existence, imprisoning it in the void between realities. The city of Ethelberg, you now understand, was built not just as a sanctuary, but as a lock on its prison door. The pact was the seal. The patron god was the warden. And someone has just handed the prisoner the key. The ash falls faster now, a silent, funereal blizzard. The shimmering ghosts, their moment of terror past, resume their mindless routines, but now they are stained in gray. Their movements slower, more sluggish, like clockwork toys running down. They are fading, being overwritten by the encroaching power of the unnamed god. The question that cuts through the psychic noise and the falling ash is no longer who is looking in, but who, inside Ethelberg, would know the one name powerful enough to tear it all down. Who is the traitor? Word count. 106 AU awaiting continue. The black ash accumulates, muffling the world in a shroud of gray velvet. The low hum of the market pedestals falters, sputtering like dying hearts. The very energy of the city is failing. There is one who might still see the path, Hesper whispers, her voice a thin thread against the suffocating silence. Her gaze is fixed, not on the cracking sky, but on a low, no-like structure on the far side of the plaza, a building you hadn't noticed before, half buried in the ground like the skull of some immense beast. The Oracle. She reads the ashes of what is to come. She leads you toward the dome, your feet leaving the first footprints in the newly fallen layer of negation. The entrance to the Oracle's dwelling is a simple, dark opening, a maw leading into the earth. As you pass through, you leave the falling ash and the dying city behind. Inside, it is utterly dark and profoundly still. The air is dry and smells of burnt herbs and something else. Something cold and mineral like crushed stone. Show yourself, Sybil. Hespera calls out, her voice barely a rustle. For a long moment, there is no response. Then, a single point of light ignites in the center of the circular chamber. It is a tiny flame floating in midair, casting just enough light to reveal the Oracle. She is ancient, impossibly so. A woman so old she seems to have turned to petrified wood. She sits on a simple stone throne, her body frail and shrunken, wrapped in layers of dark, tattered cloth. Her face is a mask of wrinkles, and her eyes are closed, but not in sleep. They are sealed shut, the lids fused together as if they were never meant to open. The Oathkeeper comes with an outsider. The Sibyl's voice echoes in the small chamber. It is not a voice of flesh, but the dry, sifting sound of sand falling through an hourglass. You are too late. The threads are cut. The future is already a corpse. Read the ashes. Hespera insists, her tone desperate. Show him the shape of the doom that comes for us. The Sibyl is silent for a moment. Her head cocked as if listening to a distant frequency. The ashes no longer speak of the future, she rasps. They only scream of the now. Slowly she raises a skeletal hand and points a long, gnarled finger toward the center of the room. The floating flame flares, brightening, and in its light the motes of dust dancing in the air begin to coalesce. They are drawn together by an unseen force, swirling into a vortex. The dust is not random. It is the black ash that has filtered down into this sacred space. The swirling ash forms an image, a three-dimensional sculpture made of shadow and dust suspended in the air before you. It is the start chart of doom. It shows the ochre sky of Ethelberg, the spire, the cracks. But it is a predictive model. You watch mesmerized as the cracks widen at an accelerated rate. You see the pulsing eye in the fissure, joined by others, a dozen, then 100, a legion of unseen entities peering into the dying world. This form of divination is a chilling echo of real historical practices. Many ancient cultures practice scrying, staring into reflective surfaces like water, crystal, or polished obsidian to receive visions. Here, the Sibyl uses the very substance of the city's destruction. The ash of its unnaming is her medium. It's a bizarre and morbid form of prophecy, reading the future in the entrails of the present. The ash chart continues its terrible revelation. The fissures connect, and a huge section of the sky dome shatters, falling away into the darkness below. Through the gaping hole, the banished one begins to manifest. It is not a single entity, but a legion, a flowing, amorphous tide of shadow and cold fire, pouring into Ethelberg like a black ocean. The city is inundated. The bronze towers dissolve, the black stone streets melt. The shimmering ghosts of the citizens are not destroyed. They are absorbed, their faint light extinguished as they are drawn into the encroaching darkness. The Sibyl then makes the vision personal. The swirling ash shifts, focusing on you. It shows you holding the black stone tablet, the keystone. As the tide of shadow washes over you, the tablet flares with a brilliant, defiant light, resisting the dissolution. The banished one, it seems, cannot consume the power that summoned it. The Oracle's vision shows you as the last point of light in a universe of absolute black. The keystone protects its bearer, the Sibyl's sandy voice intones, interpreting the vision. It is the one piece of the old world that the new darkness cannot unmake. You will survive the erasure. Her head turns slightly, her sealed eyes seeming to fix on you. But survival is not victory. You will be the sole witness to the end. A conscious mind adrift in an ocean of non-being. An eternal audience for nothing. It's a fate worse than any hell from Greek mythology. Not punishment, but absolute eternal isolation. It's the ultimate sensory deprivation. Hespera lets out a choked sob. There is no hope then. Prophecy is absolute. Prophecies are not chains, they're paths, the Sibyl counters, her voice gaining a sliver of strength. This is the path of non-action, the doom that comes if the keystone remains passive. The ash chart swirls again, presenting a final, cryptic image. It shows the keystone tablet being brought to the very top of the patron god's spire, where it is struck by a bolt of lightning that descends not from the sky, but erupts upward from the spire itself. The resulting explosion of energy does not save the city, but it seems to cauterize the whole in reality, sealing the banished one away once more. The city still vanishes, but it is not consumed. It is ... hidden. The patron sleeps, but he is not dead, the Sibyl explains. His power can be roused, his final duty discharged. But it will require a sacrifice at the heart of the storm. She turns her sealed face toward you once more. And the final, terrible question of her prophecy hangs in the dusty air. The choice is not about saving Ethelberg, for it is already lost. The question is, will you accept an eternity of isolated madness to witness its consumption, or will you risk your own annihilation to give the city a clean, honorable death? Word count, 1097 awaiting continue. You emerge from the Oracle's earthen dome into a city being steadily buried. The fall of black ash is thicker now, a silent, relentless blizzard that has already coated the world in a uniform blanket of gray. The oppressive silence is deeper, the air colder. The Sibyl's prophecy echoes in your mind. A choice between witnessing an eternity of nothing and participating in a sacrifice that might grant the city a clean end. But it is a choice made in ignorance. You don't know who betrayed Ethelberg, or why. Your Oracle sees the skeins of fate, but not the hands that weave them. Hespera rasps, her gaze sweeping over the ash-covered plaza. Her visions are a destination, not a map. To understand the betrayal, we must look backward, not forward. We must ask the dead. She turns toward a dark, unassuming archway you had overlooked, one that seems to lead directly into the foundation of a large, windowless building. There is one last sanctuary the ash has not yet touched, the place where memory goes to rest. You follow her into the archway, which immediately slopes down into a tunnel carved from the same black polished stone as the city streets. The descent is far longer and steeper than the one to the Weaver's Cavern. The air grows still and profoundly cold, and all sound dies away until the only thing you can hear is the soft scrape of Hespera's robes and the frantic thud of your own heart. At the bottom of the ramp, you enter a space that defies logic. You are in a vast, perfectly circular chamber, perhaps a mile in diameter. The walls, floor, and ceiling are a seamless expanse of polished obsidian, so black it reflects nothing. In the center of this void-like space flows the river of dissolved memories. It is not water, but a slow, majestic current of pure liquid light, about 30 feet wide. It is the raw material of the weaver's loom. The collected consciousness of Ethelberg's citizens, flowing from some unseen source to an unseen destination. It is silent, beautiful, and heartbreakingly sad. This is the city's soul, flowing toward oblivion. The site is a stark, tragic inversion of the Greek myths you studied, particularly the legend of the river Lethe in the underworld, where shades drank to achieve forgetfulness. Here the river is not the cause of forgetting. It is the forgotten. Every memory traded in the market, every joy and sorrow given to the patron, flows here before it is woven by the loom mother, Hespera explains, her whisper absorbed by the immense silence. The first people, the ones who made the pact, their memories are still here, faint but present. We will ask them who they feared among their own. She kneels at the river's edge, placing her bowl of captured starlight on the obsidian floor. The ritual requires an anchor, focal point of strong resonance to call the shades from the current. She gestures to her bowl. It contains the echoes of the first and purest offerings, we'll call the founders. But to make them speak to an outsider, she looks at you, her eyes filled with a grim necessity. You must offer an anchor of your own. Your heart sinks. You have nothing. No heirlooms, no sacred objects. You are a ghost here, a being without a history. They frantically search your pockets. Lint. A crumpled receipt from a life that no longer exists. And then your fingers close around cold, familiar metal. Key. Not a grand mythic artifact, but a simple modern brass key, worn smooth from use. The key to your apartment in Heraklion. The key to a world you may never see again. It is a pathetic offering, but it is drenched in the resonance of a lost life. You pull it out. Hespera nods slowly. That will serve. The ritual's central component is as bizarre as it is invasive. You are not to throw the key in, but to let the river touch it. You kneel beside Hespera and hold the key out over the current of light. As it dips into the luminous flow, the river does not splash or ripple. The light seems to grow denser around the key, clinging to it. Asterisk, asterisk, reading, asterisk, asterisk, it. The surface of the river downstream from you begins to shimmer and distort. Images, faint and fleeting, appear in the liquid light. The messy surface of your desk, the view from your apartment window, the face of a colleague, the rain-slicked streets of your home city. The river is tasting your memories, projecting the mundane sorrow of your own lost world into its sacred current. It is an unnerving, intimate violation. Then, drawn by the twin anchors of Hespera's pure light and your alien sorrow, they rise. Faint, humanoid shapes of brighter silver coalesce within the river, their faces indistinct, but their forms ancient. The shades of the first people. A chorus of whispers fills the chamber, not spoken, but felt. A symphony of ghostly voices rising from the flow. Who broke the pact? Hespera asks the river, her voice a plea. Who among you held a seed of betrayal? The whispers swirl, confused at first, then coalescing around a single, shared memory. Asterisk, not one of us. Asterisk, the voices sigh. Asterisk, we sought sanctuary. We feared the wars of the sky. We trusted the patron. Asterisk, a pause. The river of light darkens for a moment. Asterisk, but there was one who stood with the patron when the oath was sworn. One not of our kind. He did not celebrate the ceiling. He mourned the cage, the stargazer. The one who taught us to read the heavens we were leaving behind. Asterisk suddenly. The silent chamber is disturbed. Single black fleck of ash drifts down from the infinite ceiling, landing in the river of light. It dissolves with a sickening hiss, creating a black, oily stain that begins to spread like ink in water. Then another falls, and another. The ash of the unnaming has found its way even here. The ancestral shades recoil. Their shimmering forms flicker, their whispers turning to a panicked shriek that echoes in your mind. Asterisk, it finds us. the hole in knowledge, the eater of pasts. The river begins to writhe. Black stains multiply, consuming the silver light. The shades are being extinguished, their ancient memories devoured by the encroaching void. You have your clue, a title, the Stargazer, but as the city's living history dissolves into screaming blackness before you, the terrifying question is in your search for an answer: have you just led the darkness to the last pure thing in this world? Word count, 1098. Await and continue. The river of dissolved memories dies. The silver light of 1,000 lifetimes is consumed by the spreading black stains, and the final, psychic scream of the ancestral shades fades into an agonizing silence. The vast chamber is plunged into absolute darkness, the last mote of light extinguished. You are left kneeling on the obsidian floor, the cold seeping into your bones, the phantom shrieks of erased souls echoing in your skull. Hespera's steadying presence is gone. You cannot see or hear her. You are utterly alone in the dark heart of the world, with only the ghost of a name the Stargazer and the chilling realization that your quest for knowledge has become a vector for the apocalypse. Then, a voice speaks directly beside you, calm and measured in the oppressive blackness. An interesting transaction. You offered a piece of your past, and in exchange, you have destroyed theirs. You scramble backward, your heart seizing in your chest. A soft green light flares to life, the size and shape of a human hand. It floats in the air, held palm up, illuminating the speaker. He is tall and unnervingly gaunt, dressed in a traveler's simple, dark green tunic. His face is sharp and intelligent, framed by short dark hair, but his most striking feature is his eyes. They are the color of jade, and they hold an ancient, weary amusement. The look of a being who has seen empires rise and fall like the tide. His bizarre, defining feature, however, is his complete lack of a shadow. The green light he holds aloft illuminates him perfectly, yet the obsidian floor behind him is unblemished by any silhouette. He is a being untethered to the physical world, a phantom of a different sort. "Do not be alarmed," he says, his voice a smooth, melodious baritone. "I am merely a guide. You recognize the archetype immediately, the psychopomp, the underworld guide. Like Charon, the ferryman of the river Styx in Greek mythology, who demanded a coin for passage, or the jackal-headed Anubis, who guided Egyptian souls through the underworld. This being is Ethelberg's version, but his domain is not death. It is the labyrinthine corridors of this forgotten city. You have your clue," the guide continues, his jade eyes twinkling. "The Stargazer. An old title for an even older demigod. He who charted the city's prison. I can take you to him." But he pauses, and his smile becomes a thin, predatory line. "Passage has a price." "Of course it does. Do you te de I give, so that you may give. It is the fundamental law of this place." "I have nothing left to offer," you say, your voice hoarse. "My only connection to my past is gone." You think of your apartment key, dissolved in the river of light. "But you do," the guide says, his voice soft and persuasive. "The shades took your anchor, but the memory remains inside you. A key is a small thing, but the memory of the door it opens. The feeling of turning the lock, the specific squeak of the hinge, the exact way the afternoon light fell across the floor of a home you can never return to. That is a memory of exquisite sorrow, a vintage of rare quality." He holds his glowing green hand out toward you. "Give me that, and I will lead you through the hidden ways, to the very doorstep of the one you seek. It is a small price to pay for a chance to save this world, is it not?" His offer is monstrous. He is a connoisseur of pain, a broker of nostalgia, but he is also your only option. The Sibyl's prophecy offered a choice between two dooms, but this guide offers a third path, a chance to confront the betrayer. To understand why? You nod. It is a silent, soul-crushing consent. "Excellent," the guide says, his smile widening. He reaches out with his other hand, not the one holding the light, and gently touches your temple with two cool fingers. You feel no pain, only a brief, sharp sense of loss, like a phantom limb sensation for a piece of your soul. The memory of your front door, a memory you didn't even know you cherished, is plucked from your mind. It is gone, not forgotten, but erased. An empty space now exists where that small, perfect comfort used to be. You have incurred a debt to the underworld guide. When return, the green light in his hand brightens, and he turns, leading you away from the dead river. He doesn't walk toward the ramp you came down. Instead, he walks directly toward the seamless obsidian wall. As he approaches, a doorway of swirling green energy irises open, revealing a narrow, twisting corridor that looks like it was tunneled by giant worms through the very foundations of reality. This way, he says, stepping through. The paths of the gods are not for mortal feet, but for a price. Exceptions can be made. You follow him into the shimmering passage, leaving the vast mausoleum of memories behind. The walls of the tunnel writhe with faint greenish light, and the path twists and turns in ways that defy Euclidean geometry. It is a shortcut through the city's hidden veins. I've always found the idea of underworld guides fascinating. They are not heroes or villains, but functionaries of cosmic bureaucracy, their morality dictated by the rules of their domain. This one is no different. He is not evil, merely a merchant whose currency is pain. After a journey that feels both instantaneous and eternal, the tunnel ends. You step out of another shimmering portal into a part of the city you haven't seen. You are on a high balcony, carved from a single piece of obsidian, overlooking the entire city. Below, the streets are thick with black ash, the sky a tapestry of cracks. Far below, you see Hespera, a tiny lone figure, making her slow, sad way toward the central spire. The guide points toward a small, isolated observatory perched at the very edge of the city's outer wall, a place that seems to hang over the churning, plum-colored sea. There, he says, the stargazer's domain. My part of the bargain is complete. He gives you a final, chilling smile. I do hope you find what you are looking for. With that, he and his green light simply dissolve, fading into nothing, leaving you alone on the high balcony. You are left with a new, hollow space in your soul and a single burning purpose. But as you look toward the lonely observatory, a new and terrible question emerges from the depths of your traded memory. The guide promised to lead you to the trader. But what if his price was not just a piece of your past, but also the guarantee that you would arrive too late? The guide's parting words hang in the ash-thick air, laced with a chilling ambiguity. You are alone on the obsidian balcony, the hollow ache in your mind a constant reminder of the price of passage. Below, the city of Ethelberg is a dying animal, its pristine architecture slowly suffocating under a blanket of gray ash. The cracks in the ochre sky are wider now, the crystalline ringing more insistent, frantic death knell for a world coming apart at the seams. You make your way from the balcony, finding a steep, narrow staircase that winds down the exterior of the building, leading you back to the silent, ash-covered streets. Your path to the observatory at the city's edge is a journey through a graveyard. The shimmering, spectral citizens are almost gone, their forms so faint and corrupted by the ash they are now little more than smudges of dirty light. Their movements sluggish and barely perceptible.
Oh, yeah.
They are being erased, their looped actions fading into the encroaching entropy. The city is losing its memory, its very identity dissolving. As you near the outer wall, the ground begins to tremble. It is not the deep, shuddering jolt from before, but a rhythmic, pounding tremor that grows in intensity with every step. It's a footstep, the footstep of a god. The air, already thick with ozone, now crackles with raw, untamed power. A new presence has arrived in Ethelberg. You reach the outer wall and look up. Standing on the battlements, silhouetted against the fractured sky, is a figure of colossal scale. He is not a product of this city's bronze and black stone. He is a being of raw elemental fury, his body seemingly composed of roiling thunderclouds and captured lightning. He holds a massive spear that crackles with arcs of white-hot energy, and his face is a mask of arrogant divine ambition. This is the storm god, the challenger. This is the eye that was looking in. He raises his crackling spear and strikes the bronze parapet of the wall. The impact does not damage the metal. Instead, it sends a wave of pure sonic force across the city. A thunderclap so powerful it shakes the ash from the buildings and makes the very stones groan in protest. It is a declaration. A challenge issued not to the dying citizens, but to the slumbering ruler in the central spire. Warden of this stagnant pond? The storm god's voice booms, not through telepathy, but but as a physical wave of sound that feels like a punch to the chest. Your pact is broken. Your sky is forfeit. Your flock has forgotten your name. I have come to claim this foundation for a new dynasty. Surrender your throne, or I shall take it from the wreckage of your tomb. His declaration is pure, classic hubris, echoing the countless succession myths from human history, the Greek tale of Zeus overthrowing his father Cronus, the Norse sagas of gods constantly vying for power. This is the eternal drama of deities, a game of cosmic thrones played out across the canvas of mortal worlds. This newcomer is not the banished one, not the primordial entity of shadow. He is an opportunist, younger, more vigorous god who saw the crack in Ethelberg's defenses and has come to seize power. A vulture circling a dying beast. The storm god's presence has a bizarre, almost vulgar quality in the dying silent city. Ethelberg is a place of quiet bargains, subtle energies, and ancient melancholy secrets. This god is loud, bombastic, and crackling with overt power. He is like a garish neon sign erected in the middle of a sacred grove. His energy is fundamentally incompatible with the city's own. His very existence here is a form of violence. He turns his gaze from the spire, his eyes sweeping across the desolate city below. He is not looking for soldiers or defenses. He is assessing the real estate. His gaze passes over you, dismissive, as if you are nothing more than a piece of grit in the accumulating ash. He is a being of such immense ego that a lone mortal does not even register as a life form. He is here to conquer a city, not to notice its inhabitants. His challenge, however, receives no answer. The central spire remains silent, inert. The patron god does not stir. This seems to infuriate the challenger. With a roar of frustrated rage, he raises his spear again, this time pointing it at the cracked sky. A bolt of impossibly bright lightning erupts from its tip, striking one of the fissures. The impact sends a spiderweb of new cracks across the dome, and a large chunk of the sky apiece, size of a city block, detaches and falls, tumbling end over end until it crashes into a distant quarter of the city with a deafening, grinding impact, throwing up a colossal plume of bronze dust and black ash. He is not just knocking on the door, he is tearing the house down. His raw, chaotic power is accelerating the city's destruction, hastening the very doom he seems to want to prevent. He is a surgeon trying to perform a delicate operation with a battle axe. You tear your gaze from the spectacle of divine impatience and hurry toward the observatory, the stargazer's domain. The arrival of this new, chaotic player has changed the equation completely. The city is no longer just dying. It is being torn apart by competing apocalypses. The slow consumption by the banished one from within, and the violent demolition by this storm god from without. You feel trapped between two unfolding ends of the world. But as you run, the question that drives you forward is no longer just about the past betrayal. The storm god's arrival felt too convenient, too perfectly timed. Was his appearance a random act of divine opportunism? Or was he intentionally summoned here as part of the stargazer's grand destructive plan? Word count 1086, awaiting continue. The observatory is a strange, lonely structure. A perfect dome of polished obsidian perched precariously on a rocky outcrop that juts out from the city wall, hanging over the churning, violent sea. It feels detached from Ethelberg, a place for looking out, not in. The rhythmic, pounding footsteps of the storm god fade as you approach, replaced once more by the mournful sigh of the wind and the crash of waves far below. The single, unadorned entrance is a dark archway, open and waiting. You step inside, and the world goes quiet. The interior of the dome is a single, cavernous room. The floor is a mosaic of constellations, not the familiar patterns of Earth or even the alien sky of Ethelberg, but 1,000 different celestial charts, overlapping and interwoven in a disorienting, beautiful chaos. The curved walls are lined with shelves holding countless scrolls, star charts, and bizarre astronomical instruments made of brass and crystal. In the center of the room, a massive, intricate orrery of silver and gold hangs, suspended in the air, its metal planets and moons rotating slowly in a silent, complex dance. And standing before it, his back to you, is the stargazer. He is tall and slender, dressed in robes the color of a midnight sky. embroidered with silver thread that forms shimmering star patterns. He is not looking at the orrery, but through a large, circular opening in the dome's ceiling, a perfect oculus that frames the fractured ochre sky. He holds a long, slender staff made of petrified wood, and at its tip, a single, flawless piece of black obsidian gleams like a captive piece of night. He does not turn as you enter. The final piece arrives, he says, his voice calm, resonant, and filled with a profound, ancient weariness. The witness. I have watched your journey through the city, from the market to the loom, from the river to my doorstep. You have followed the breadcrumbs of my betrayal with admirable diligence. He turns and you see his face. He is ageless, his features sharp and aristocratic, but his eyes are the most shocking thing about him. They are not eyes of flesh. They are miniature whirlpools of shimmering starlight, as if he holds two tiny galaxies captive in his sockets. You see in them the birth and death of suns. He is not just an observer of the cosmos, he is a part of it. You are the traitor, you say, the words feeling small and useless in this place of cosmic grandeur. Treason is a matter of perspective, the stargazer replies, his voice gentle. I have not betrayed Ethelberg. I have betrayed its cage. I was there when the pact was made. I was a demigod in service to the patron, his chief scholar, his navigator of realities. When he chose to seal this city away, to create this little pocket of eternal stagnation, I thought it was a noble act, a way to preserve a culture from the endless, meaningless wars of the gods. He gestures to the oculus. But eternity is a prison. The city did not live, it repeated. Its people became echoes. Its god became a parasite, feeding on fading memories. This was not life. It was a museum exhibit, sealed in a glass case. I chose to break the glass. He is the guardian of the obsidian gate. Not a physical gate, but the ideological one that separates Ethelberg from the true chaotic cosmos. And to pass, you must understand his riddle. He walks toward you, his starry eyes holding a deep, philosophical sorrow. I will ask you a question, he says. The answer will determine whether you understand, and whether you will stand with me or against me in these final moments. His question is not a simple riddle of words. He raises his obsidian staff, and the orrery in the center of the room begins to spin faster. The planets and stars on the mosaic floor glow with a brilliant light. The very fabric of the observatory seems to hum with power. The riddle is this, he says, his voice now a chorus of distant cosmic harmonies. Which is the greater act of mercy, to allow a beautiful song to fade into a discordant, meaningless noise, or to smash the instrument, so that the song is remembered forever in its purest final note? There is no answer. It is a paradox, a philosophical quandary that pits the value of existence against the value of meaning. This is a common trope in advanced mythologies, the trickster, or sage, who poses an unanswerable question to test the hero's wisdom, not their knowledge. It echoes the Zen Buddhist koan, a paradoxical question meant to provoke doubt and lead to enlightenment. There is no correct answer, you say, your voice shaking slightly. It's a false choice. A slow, sad smile spreads across the stargazer's face. Precisely, he says. And in a universe of false choices, the only true freedom is to choose the one that creates a new question. He taps his staff on the floor. I did not just break the pact. I sent a summons through the cracks. The storm god you saw? He is a necessary catalyst, a blunt instrument to shatter the foundations, and the banished one, the eater of pasts. He is the solvent. He will not just destroy Ethelberg. He will unwrite it from all histories, all memories, except for one. He looks at you, his galaxy eyes piercing. Yours, the keystone you carry makes you the sole repository of the memory, the one true witness. His plan is a work of horrifying cosmic artistry. He is not just destroying the city. He is curating its legacy, ensuring it dies not as a faded, hollowed-out ghost, but as a grand, tragic myth, burned into the memory of a single, eternal observer. He is the ultimate historian, willing to destroy his subject to perfect its story. You will be the instrument, he says, and your memory will be the final, perfect song. The question that his terrible revelation poses is no longer about mercy. It is about your own role in his grand nihilistic masterpiece. Are you a hero here to save the day? Or are you nothing more than the final, critical component in his machine of glorious self-destruction? Word count, 1098, awaiting continue. The stargazer's confession hangs in the air, a declaration of intent so grand and terrible it redefines the nature of your reality. You are not a player in this game. You are the prize, the final archive. You are mad, you breathe, the words tasting of ash and futility. Perhaps he concedes, his star-filled eyes holding no malice, only an unwavering philosophical certainty. But madness is simply a vision that others cannot yet see. The patron god of this city chose safety over meaning. I have chosen meaning over existence. History will not remember Ethelberg. He corrects himself with a slight, ironic smile. For history will not exist, but asterisk will remember. And in your eternal memory, this city, this myth, will achieve a perfection it could never have reached in life. He turns from you, gesturing with his obsidian staff, toward the chaotic sky visible through the oculus. The overture is complete. The storm god plays his part, weakening the foundations. Soon, the true cleansing will begin. It is time for you to take your place at the heart of the performance. With a flick of his wrist, staff's obsidian tip glows with a dark, absorbing light. The intricate orrery in the center of the room freezes its silent dance. A low, resonant hum fills the observatory, and the very air seems to thicken, pressing in on you. You feel a strange pulling sensation, not on your body, but on the keystone tablet tucked at your waist. The stargazer is not targeting you. He is targeting the artifact. The keystone is more than a key, he explains, his voice calm amidst the rising power. It is a homing beacon, bound to the source of the pact. I can no longer approach the patron myself. My betrayal has made me anathema in his presence. But you are the key bearer, and the message, all in one. Must go to him. Will be my final emissary. Before you can react, he thrusts the staff forward. A beam of pure, absorbing darkness shoots from the obsidian tip and strikes you in the chest. The impact is not physical. There is no pain, no force. Instead, it is a feeling of instantaneous, absolute translocation. The observatory, the stargazer, the seeth, they all vanish. You are ripped from your place in space and time and deposited elsewhere. The world reassembles around you with a sickening lurch. You are no longer in the lonely observatory at the edge of the world. You are inside the spire of whispers. You stand in a vast, circular chamber at the very top of the city's central spire. The walls are made of a smooth, pearlescent material that seems to glow with a faint internal light, shifting through colors from soft rose to deep indigo. The ceiling is a single massive crystal dome, through which you can see the cracked and dying sky, the pulsing eyes in the fissures, looking down like a council of cosmic vultures. This is the Sanctum Sanctorum, the throne room of Ethelberg's slumbering god. The chamber is filled with sound, a constant overlapping chorus of faint whispers. They are the prayers, hopes, and memories of the city's people. Siphoned here over millennia now, swirling in the air like psychic dust motes. You hear fragments of lullabies, echoes of lovers' promises, whispers of grief for lost children, desperate pleas for a good harvest. It is the raw, unfiltered emotional energy that has sustained the patron god, now fading into a weak, pathetic murmur. This place inverts a common mythological trope. Many gods have sacred mountains or high places, Olympus for the Greeks, Asgard for the Norse. These are places of power, vibrancy, and divine judgment. The spire, however, is a place of passive consumption. It is not a throne room, but a sick room, a divine hospice where a god slowly starves. A bizarre detail catches your eye. Floating aimlessly through the air are not just whispers, but physical, tangible objects, a child's wooden toy, a single, petrified rose, a worn leather sandal. These are items that must have been so saturated with emotional resonance, so intensely loved or hated that they were drawn up along with the memories they contained. They drift like flotsam on a sea of fading feeling. In the center of the chamber, on a simple, unadorned dais of the same pearlescent stone, lies the king god. But there is no throne. He is not seated in power. He is recumbent, asleep, or perhaps comatose, on a low, flat slab. You move closer, drawn by a morbid curiosity, stepping through the ghostly, drifting artifacts. Your journey up the spire was not a climb. It was an abduction, a forced pilgrimage to this holy place. The whispers grow fainter as you approach the dais, the air around the sleeping gods strangely still. You feel a profound sense of wrongness, of a sacred duty left unfulfilled. Hespera, the Oathkeeper, is nowhere to be seen. You wonder if she is still making her slow, determined way through the ash-covered streets, a faithful servant marching toward a master who can no longer hear her. The tragic irony is overwhelming. You reach the edge of the dais and look upon the patron of Ethelberg. He is not a monster or a being of pure energy. He has the form of a man, ancient and beautiful, with long silver hair spread out around his head like a halo. He wears simple white robes. His face is serene, peaceful, but it is the peace of exhaustion, not contentment. This is the god who made a pact to save his people, who built a fortress against the chaos of the cosmos. But the stargazer's words echo in your mind. He is a parasite, a warden, a king who traded his kingdom's vitality for its safety. As you stand before the architect of this grand, flawed sanctuary, a question far more personal and terrifying than the stargazer's riddle surfaces in your mind.
Us.
The Sibyl's prophecy showed you bringing the keystone here, to this very spot, to enact a final world-altering sacrifice. The stargazer sent you here to be his messenger, to trigger the end. You are a pawn in two competing apocalypses. But whose prophecy will you fulfill? And do you have any choice in the matter at all? Word count 1099, awaiting continue. You stand in the heart of the spire, a witness in the silent sanctum of a dying god. The air is thin, saturated with the faint, sorrowful whispers of a million forgotten moments. The patron god lies before you, a figure of tragic, dormant majesty. He is not a king on a throne, but a patient in a bed, kept alive by the fading hum of the city's life support. The keystone at your hip feels heavy, a dense knot of potential energy in this place of profound entropy. You are a loaded gun brought into a morgue. Slowly you circle the dais, observing the king god who feeds on silence. His skin is flawless, like polished marble, but it has a strange, translucent quality. Beneath the surface, you can see faint silvery currents moving sluggishly, like blood in veins. These are the last dregs of the city's memories, the final trickles of nourishment reaching him. His power is not gone, but it is in a state of deep hibernation, conserved to maintain the city's structural integrity. This is the source of the paradox. He is too weak to actively defend his city, but his passive existence is the only thing holding it together. There's a deeply bizarre and pathetic quality to his slumber. He isn't merely asleep. He is metabolizing stillness. The silence in the spire is not an absence of sound, but a presence, a thick, nourishing blanket that he consumes. The whispers of memory are the spice, but the silence is the meal. This explains why the storm god's roaring challenges went unanswered. The noise was not just an insult, it was an assault, a force antithetical to the patron's very nature. He is a god who has become allergic to the vibrancy of life, a deity sustained by the quiet of the grave. This is a fascinating inversion of many ancient beliefs, where gods were sustained by loud, boisterous festivals, sacrifices, and shouted prayers. This deity is a black hole of sound. You reach out a hesitant hand, stopping just short of touching his marble-like skin. You feel no heat, no sign of life, only a profound static cold. He is a monument to a failed ideal. I remember standing before the famous caryatides of the Erechtheion in Athens, those beautiful sculpted maidens holding up the temple roof. They looked so strong, but an archaeologist once told me their secret: the originals were replaced by copies. The real ones were moved inside, too fragile to bear the weight of the sky and the city's pollution. This god is like that. It's a beautiful, powerful form, now too fragile to perform his original function. Your eyes are drawn to his chest. Lying there, nestled in the folds of his white robes, is an object. It is a lens, the size of a dinner plate, crafted from a single, flawless piece of sun-yellow citrine. It is cut with 1,000 tiny facets, and even in the dim, shifting light of the spire, it seems to capture and amplify every stray photon, glowing with a soft, warm, internal light. It feels ancient, powerful, and completely at odds with the cold, silent energy of the patron. It is a piece of a different kind of magic, a relic from a time of sun and sky, not shadow and silence. As you stare at the lens, a wave of dizziness washes over you. A new voice enters your mind. It is not the telepathic thunder of the banished one, nor the melodious baritone of the guide, nor the cosmic chorus of the stargazer. This voice is weak, fragmented, like a distant radio signal struggling to break through static. It is the voice of the patron, a dream whisper from the depths of his divine coma. Asterisk, the ... double quotes. Asterisk, the voice murmurs, the words disjointed. Asterisk, ... focus, ... the heart. The pact ... must be ... double quotes. Asterisk, the fog in your mind clears. You'll understand the lens, the sunstone, is the focal point of the pact. It is the original instrument through which the patron channeled his power to seal the city, the conduit through which he once received the vibrant emotional energy of his people. But now, with that energy gone, it lies dormant, a beautiful but useless artifact on his chest. The patron's weak, fragmented thoughts continue, not as words, but as a series of desperate, fading images. You see the sunstone being placed on a high altar, see the keystone tablet being held above it, see a light, not from the sky, but from the keystone itself, shining down, being focused by the sunstone into a single, cohesive beam of immense power. It is a blueprint, a final desperate instruction manual for a divine machine. He is not asking you to save him. He is not asking you to fight. He is asking you to help him fulfill the final clause of his ancient contract. He is a king who has failed his kingdom, and he is trying, even from the depths of his slumber, to give one last order. The choice is crystallizing. Stargazer wants you to be a passive witness to a glorious nihilistic end. The Sibyl's prophecy spoke of a sacrifice. But the patron himself is offering a third option. Not destruction, not oblivion, but a final, desperate act of preservation. He wants you to use the keystone, not as a weapon, but as a power source, to reignite the fading heart of his city. But as this new possibility dawns, a new and terrible question arises. The patron is weak, his thoughts fragmented. He is dreaming of a solution from a time when the pact was strong and pure. Does he even comprehend the corruption that now infests his city? Is his plan a genuine path to salvation, or is it the delirious fantasy of a dying god, a final, futile gesture that will only succeed in feeding the last of his power into the very darkness that is consuming him? Word count 1098, awaiting continue. The patron's whispered, fragmented plan hangs in the silent air, a ghost of a hope in a dying world. It is a desperate gambit from a mind lost in the twilight of its own existence. You look from the slumbering god to the sunstone on his chest, its warm, golden light a stark contrast to the cold, pearlescent chamber. This is the heart of the machine, the focusing lens for a miracle. To follow the patron's plan is an act of faith in a deity who has already failed. To follow the stargazers is to embrace a beautiful, nihilistic apocalypse. Your hand closes over the keystone at your hip, feels strangely warm, resonating with the ambient whispers of the spire. A choice must be made. You gently lift the sunstone from the patron's chest. It is heavier than it looks, and warm to the touch, humming with a barely perceptible vibration. Like a trapped and sleeping bee, it feels alive. On the far side of the chamber, directly opposite the dais, stands a single, slender column of black obsidian, rising from the floor to the crystalline ceiling. Its top is flat, forming a small, altar-like surface. This must be the place from the patron's vision. Carry the sunstone to the column, the weight of the city's last, desperate hope resting in your hands. You place it on the obsidian altar. The moment the golden lens touches the black stone, a low, resonant chime echoes through the spire. A pure, clean note that cuts through the sorrowful whispers. For a moment, the swirling memories cease their aimless drift, as if listening. The sunstone's awakening has begun. The thousand facets of the lens begin to glow, their light intensifying, pulsing in time with the faint hum. The air around the altar grows warm, the profound chill of the spire receding slightly. You are activating a piece of divine technology that has been dormant for millennia. This act feels deeply reminiscent of historical rituals surrounding sacred objects like the ceremonial washing and anointing of cult statues in ancient Greece and Egypt, rites meant to awaken the deity within the idol and make them receptive to prayer. You are, in effect, waking up the city's heart. As the sunstone's light grows brighter, a bizarre and beautiful phenomenon occurs. The faint whispers of memory that fill the spire are drawn toward it. They cease their chaotic swirling and begin to flow in steady, shimmering streams toward the lens. The sad, fragmented whispers of grief, the faint, joyful echoes of laughter, the fading sparks of love and hope, they are all pulled into the sunstone, not consumed, but collected, ordered. The lens is not just an amplifier. It is a collator, a library, gathering the last scattered pages of the city's story. You watch, mesmerized, as the sunstone absorbs the swirling memories, its golden light deepening, growing richer, more complex. The chamber is slowly being emptied of its psychic clutter, the air becoming clear and sharp. The light from the lens projects a single, brilliant beam upward, striking the center of the crystal dome overhead. The dome, which had been showing the cracked and dying ochre sky, now begins to change. The image of the fissures and the pulsing eyes of the observers fades, replaced by a new vision. It is a projection of Ethelberg, not as it is now covered in dying, but as it was at its zenith. You see pristine streets bustling with solid, vibrant people. You see children playing in sunlit plazas. You see artisans crafting wonders of bronze and stone. You see the patron god, not slumbering, but walking among his people, his presence a comfort and a blessing. The sunstone is not just gathering memories. It is projecting the city's ideal self, its founding dream. Onto the ceiling of the spire, it is rebooting the system to its original perfect state. You pull the keystone from your belt. This is the final step from the patron's vision. You are to hold it in the beam, to use its power to make this projection real. The tablet feels alive in your hands, its surface glowing with a faint, internal blue light. You take a deep breath, preparing to complete the ritual. But as you raise the keystone, a flicker of movement at the edge of the chamber catches your eye. A figure steps from the shadows behind a curve in the pearlescent wall. She is cloaked and hooded in dark gray, but you recognize her immediately. It is Hespera, the Oath Keeper. Her face is grim, her eyes filled not with hope, but with a terrible, resolute sorrow. In her hands, she no longer carries her bowl of captured starlight. She holds a shard of jagged black obsidian, its edge sharp enough to cut shadows. "Do not do it," she rasps, her voice the sound of grinding stone. She takes a step forward, her knuckles white around the obsidian shard. "You see a dream of salvation? I see the city's final fatal mistake. Her presence here is a shock, a variable you hadn't accounted for. She was supposed to be the loyal servant, the guardian of the pact, but her eyes hold the certainty of a zealot about to commit a holy crime. The question that freezes you, your hand holding the keystone aloft, is no longer about which prophecy to fulfill. A new, more immediate question stands before you. Sharp and deadly as the shard in Hespera's hand, why would the ultimate guardian of the oath try to stop the one ritual that might restore it? Word count, 1088, awaiting continue. "You see a dream?" Hespera repeats, her voice a low, urgent rasp that cuts through the sunstone's pure chime. The patron dreams of a time before the rot. He does not know what he is asking. The heart of the city is already poisoned. The corruption you saw in the weaver's loom is not just in the threads. It is in the very soil of this reality. To pour more power into the system now, you would not be reviving the city. You would be feeding the cancer. You would give the banished one the strength it needs to consume everything. Her words land with the force of a physical blow. She is the Oath Keeper. Her entire existence is dedicated to the pact. She says it is poisoned beyond repair. Her word carries the weight of Scripture. She is not a traitor. She is a pragmatist performing a divine triage. This is an act of desperate theological iconoclasm. I've read about the great waves of iconoclasm in the Byzantine Empire, where devout Christians destroyed holy icons and images, believing they had become idols that stood in the way of true faith. They were not trying to destroy their religion. They were trying to save its soul by destroying its body. Hespera is doing the same, preparing to shatter the most sacred instrument to save the spirit of the pact from its own corrupted form.
Ow.
There is only one mercy left for Ethelberg, she whispers. A single tear, tracing a clean path through the dust on her cheek. A clean death. Not this slow consumption. Not this profane feast. Before you can speak or react, she moves with a speed that belies her age. She lunges past you, a gray blur of motion, and brings the jagged obsidian shard down upon the glowing sunstone on the altar. The impact is not a loud crash, but a sickening, silent crack. The obsidian, a thing of pure negation, and the sunstone, a vessel of pure memory, meet. The result is a paradox made manifest. Time does not just stop, it shatters. The beam of light projecting the vision of the old Ethelberg on the ceiling fractures into a million glittering shards of frozen light, which then hang suspended in the air like a chandelier of broken dreams. The whispers of memory freeze mid-flow, becoming solid, silvery filaments in the air. The patron on his dais, the falling ash outside, the very motes of dust, everything is locked in a single, silent, crystalline moment. And into this frozen tableau he steps. He emerges not from a door or a shadow, but from the space asterisk, between asterisk, two suspended shards of light, as if he simply unfolded himself from a crease in reality. It is the guide, his jade-green eyes sparkling with amusement, his trademark shadowless form, a stark presence in the frozen scene. He applauds softly, the sound unnervingly loud in the absolute stillness. "Bravo," he says, his voice a smooth purr. Such passion, such conviction. The zealot, the dreamer, the philosopher, the brute. All the archetypes are playing their parts so beautifully. It truly is a magnificent end of an age. He walks casually around the frozen form of Hespera, her face a mask of agonized determination, the obsidian shard still embedded in the cracked sunstone. "But you," he says, stopping before you, "you are not an archetype. You are an anomaly. And anomalies have options, the others do not. He is the trickster." In Norse legends, Loki would often appear at moments of crisis, not to solve the problem, but to offer a third, chaotic path that would benefit himself. The guide is cast from the same mold. He offers you a way to escape your fate. The stargazer wants you as his eternal audience, the guide says, ticking points off on his fingers. The slumbering king wants you as his divine battery. The Oathkeeper wants you to die honorably with the city. They all offer you a role in their asterisk story. He leans in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I am offering you a way to start your own." He opens his hand. Lying on his palm is a smooth, flat green stone, the color of his eyes. It pulses with a faint, warm light. "This is a key," he says. "Not to a door, but to a room. A hidden pocket in reality. A fold in time that I misplaced. Long ago. It is nowhere. It is safe." This is his double-edged gift. Its function is bizarrely specific. While the gods tear this little world apart, he explains, you can use this key to step sideways into that room. You will be sheltered. You will be unharmed. You will wait. "Wait for what?" you ask, your voice feeling sluggish in the frozen time. "For it to be over," he says with a shrug. "When a victor is decided, be it the storm god, the banished one, or the utter voidant, a new reality is established. The room will unfold, and you will step out. Safe and sound." His smile widens, showing the razor's edge of the gift. "Of course you will be a ghost, a relic of a world that no longer exists, a story no one will understand, but you will be alive." Is that not the only victory that truly matters? He presses the warm green stone into your hand. It feels strangely comforting, a promise of survival in a world poised on the brink of annihilation. The guide gives you a final, knowing wink. Time is about to restart. I would decide quickly. The stage is about to get very, very crowded. He dissolves back into the space between moments, leaving you with an impossible choice. The crystalline stillness begins to hum, the fractures in time preparing to mend. You look at the green stone in your hand, then at the cracked sunstone on the altar. You have seconds. Do you use the trickster's key and flee, abandoning this world to its fate and accepting a future as a lonely, meaningless phantom? Or do you stay and play the part you were given, knowing it will almost certainly lead to your destruction? Word count 1097, awaiting continue. The humming intensifies. The crystalline moment, which felt like an eternity, shatters back into flowing time with a sound like a billion tiny shards of glass striking a marble floor. Hespera's obsidian shard grinds deeper into the sunstone, and the beautiful lens cracks apart, its golden light dying with a final mournful sigh. The projection on the ceiling vanishes, replaced once more by the horrifying image of the cracked ochre sky. The streams of memory, released from their stasis, fly apart in chaotic directions, the whispers returning as a cacophony of panicked, confused sounds. The ritual is not just stopped, it is broken violently and irrevocably. Betrayal at the altar of oaths. But the betrayal is not what you thought. It is not Hespera who has betrayed the city. In her desperate, brutal act of mercy, she was trying to save it from a fate worse than death. The true betrayal is far more subtle, far more insidious. As the sunstone dies, a new energy floods the spire, but it is not the clean, warm power of memory. It is a cold, greasy, and malevolent force, a tide of black ichor that seems to well up from the very foundations of the obsidian altar. The corruption has been hiding within the system all along. The Stargazer's plan was not to destroy the city from the outside. It was to trick you into triggering its self-destruction from within. The patron's desperate, dream-whispered instructions were not his own. They were a psychic lure, a false hope planted in his slumbering mind by the Stargazer, a trap laid for you, the one person who could activate it. The ritual to save the city was never meant to restore the pact. It was designed to overload the system, shatter the remaining defenses, and throw open the gates for the banished one. Hespera, with her deep, instinctual connection to the pact, was the only one who sensed the trap. Her betrayal was a desperate attempt to stop you from turning the final key. The obsidian altar, the one you believed was a sacred focal point, now reveals its true nature. It is not a holy instrument. It is a Trojan horse. The black, oily energy pours from it, spreading across the pearlescent floor. The stone itself begins to dissolve, not crumbling, but melting into a viscous, shadowy sludge. The whispers of memory are silenced as the sludge touches them, their silver light extinguished instantly. The corrupting black threads from the weaver's loom were not an infection. They were a symptom of a poison that was already in the city's heart. This kind of deep systemic betrayal echoes the darker elements of Gnostic mythology, where the creator of the material world, the demiurge, is often portrayed not as a benevolent god but as a flawed or malevolent artisan who has trapped divine spirits in a corrupt physical reality. The patron god was not a villain, but his creation, Ethelberg, was built on a flawed foundation. It's a secret weakness that the Stargazer, his most trusted scholar, knew how to exploit. The green stone from the guide is still warm in your hand, a pulsating promise of escape. You look at the spreading pool of blackness, then at Hespera. Down. She stands pale and trembling, her act of desperate mercy having failed to stop the catastrophe, perhaps even hastening it. She met your gaze, her eyes wide with horrified understanding. She didn't know the full extent of the trap, only that the ritual was wrong. Now she sees the true face of the enemy she was trying to fight. The slumbering patron on his dais groans, a low, agonized sound that is not a dream, but a true expression of pain. The encroaching corruption is reaching him, seeping into his very essence. The silver currents beneath his skin flicker and turn gray. He is being poisoned in his sleep. You have only seconds. The spreading ooze is a physical manifestation of the banished one's power, a foothold established in the city's most sacred space. Soon it will consume the spire, and then all of Ethelberg. The trickster's gift is your only way out. Survival. A lonely, meaningless life, but a life nonetheless. You clutch the stone, the instinct for self-preservation, a powerful, undeniable force. But then you look at the keystone tablet, still in your other hand. It is cold now, its light extinguished, its purpose seemingly thwarted. The Stargazer called you the witness, the final archive. The guide called you an anomaly. Hespera saw you as a threat, then a victim. The patron saw you as a tool. All of them defined you by your function in their apocalypse. The green stone offers an escape from those roles, but at the cost of your own meaning. The question that cuts through your fear is no longer about survival. It is about agency. In a story where everyone has tried to write your part, do you accept the ending someone else has chosen for you, even the happy ending of Escaper? Do you tear up the script and write your own final line, no matter the cost? Word count, 1069, awaiting continue. You do not use the greenstone. The choice solidifies in your mind, not as a heroic sacrifice, but as a simple, stubborn refusal to be a pawn. You let the trickster's key, his promise of a hollow life, fall from your hand. It clatters onto the pearlescent floor, its warm light flickering out as it is consumed by the advancing edge of the black, oily sludge. The path of escape is gone. You have made your stand. At that exact moment, the crystal dome of the spire shatters. It is not the storm god's doing. The cracks in the sky do not widen. Instead, the entire dome implodes with a deafening roar, raining down a storm of crystal shards that vaporize into dust before they hit the floor. The ochre sky is gone, replaced by a swirling, chaotic vortex of angry purple and black clouds. The siege from above has begun in earnest. Descending from the vortex are not one, but a dozen figures, each crackling with the same raw, elemental power as the first storm god. It is a pantheon of usurpers, a pack of divine wolves descending on the dying city. They are a diverse and terrifying host. One is a being of living magma, dripping molten rock that sizzles and steams as it hits the floor. Another is a whirlwind of sand and sharpened bone, its form constantly shifting. A third is a goddess with skin of polished obsidian and hair of crackling, negative energy. These are the deities of chaos and ambition, the ones who lurk behind the fissures, drawn by the scent of a collapsing reality. They are the ancient mysteries of a world ruled by might, where power is the only morality. They land in the spire, their divine weight cracking the pearlescent floor. They ignore you and Hespera completely. Their attention is fixed on two things: the slumbering patron god on his dais, the symbol of the old regime, and the spreading pool of black sludge, the manifestation of a rival power they must overcome. The warden sleeps. The original storm god bellows, his voice echoing in the now open chamber. The throne is empty. Slay the old king and purge this shadow filth. Ethelberg is ours. Words are a battle cry, and the chamber erupts into a maelstrom of divine violence. What follows is not a battle, it is a chaotic, multi-sided slaughter. The storm god hurls a bolt of lightning at the sleeping patron, but the being of living magma intercepts it, roaring a challenge. The goddess of negative energy unleashes a wave of pure entropy at the spreading black sludge. But the whirlwind of bone and sand turns on her, seeing her as a competitor for the same prize. Alliances are formed and broken in an instant. It is a terrifying, primal struggle for dominance, a divine free-for-all, where every god is for themselves. The spire becomes a storm of conflicting energies. Arcs of lightning clash with streams of molten rock. Waves of entropic cold meet cyclones of razor-sharp sand. The pearlescent walls crack and crumble under the onslaught. The very air shrieks with the clash of divine powers. You and Hespera are trapped in the eye of the hurricane. Huddled near the base of the crumbling dais, insignificant mortals caught in a war between titans. The sheer scale of the conflict is something your mind can barely process. It is like witnessing a supernova from inside the star. There is a bizarre, almost comical futility to their battle. They are fighting over a corpse. They battle for a throne that is already melting, for a kingdom that is being unwritten from existence. Their divine egos are so immense, they cannot see that the prize they seek is already turning to dust in their grasp. This kind of short-sighted, self-destructive pride is a cornerstone of Greek mythology, a recurring flaw in gods and heroes alike. From Agamemnon to Ares, pride was the engine of countless tragedies, and you are now watching that same drama play out on a cosmic scale. Spera, her face streaked with tears and dust, pulls at your sleeve. "We are fools," she cries over the din, her voice a raw scream. "All of us. The stargazer, the patron, the gods, even me. We all sought to control the story, to force its ending. But the story is bigger than us. It cannot be controlled, only witnessed." Amidst the chaos, the pool of black sludge, the power of the banished one, continues its silent, inexorable spread. It does not fight back against the gods. It simply expands, consuming everything it touches with a patient, absolute hunger. It is the true victor in this conflict, the silent tide that will rise to claim the shores after the storm has passed. One of the lesser storm deities, a being of ice and hail, is knocked from the air and falls into the sludge. There is no splash, no scream. His divine form, his very existence, is simply extinguished, like a candle flame dipped in tar. The other gods recoil for a moment, a flicker of true fear finally piercing their arrogant rage. The spire groans, its structure failing. Chunks of the walls begin to fall away, revealing the ash-covered city below and the churning vortex above. The end is no longer approaching. It is here. The city is being torn apart from the inside by the banished one, and from the outside by the squabbling gods. Hespera looks at you, her eyes clear and resolute despite the terror. "There is one choice left," she says, her voice low but clear amidst the chaos, "not to save the city, but to choose what remains of it." She points a trembling finger at the keystone tablet in your hand. The question she leaves you with is the most terrible of all, a choice that will weigh on you for the eternity the stargazer promised. When the gods have finished their rampage and the darkness has consumed the rest, what will you preserve? In the final eternal archive of your mind, the memory of Ethelberg's beautiful flawed dream, or the truth of its horrifying spectacular death? Word count, 1098. Awaiting continue. The spire is collapsing. The divine brawl of the usurper gods has become a desperate, chaotic retreat as they finally recognize the true threat of the silently expanding sludge. The goddess of negative energy is consumed. The being of living magma cools and hardens as the black ooze engulfs him, becoming a frozen, lifeless statue before dissolving into nothing. The storm god, the arrogant catalyst of this final battle, lets out a final roar of fury and denial before he too is overwhelmed, his lightning sputtering out like a cheap firework. The age of gods in Ethelberg ends, not with a bang, but with a silent, greasy stain. You and Hespera are on the crumbling dais, the last island of solidity in a rising tide of non-existence. The slumbering patron god is now half submerged in the sludge, his marble-like form slowly dissolving, his final unheard dream turning to nightmare. The keystone tablet in your hand suddenly grows warm, then hot. A faint blue light begins to pulse from its surface, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. It is activating, its final protocol engaging in the face of total system failure. It presents you with a choice, not through words or visions, but through pure intuitive feeling. It offers you two distinct paths, two potential realities to imprint upon your consciousness, the final record you will carry into eternity. The first path is the **dream****. If you choose this, the keystone will use its remaining power to shield your mind, allowing you to remember only the vision the sunstone projected. You will remember Ethelberg at its zenith, a city of light and life, a perfect sanctuary ruled by a benevolent king, a beautiful, noble lie. You will carry the myth, not the history. Your eternal memory will be a peaceful, sun-drenched garden. But you will know in a deep, buried part of your soul that it is not the truth. You will be the curator of a flawless, beautiful forgery. The second path is the **truth***. If you choose this, you will remember everything. Every moment of your journey, the spectral market, the weaver's silent loom, the dying river, the stargazer's cold philosophy, the god's pathetic violent end, the final, greasy dissolution of the world. You will carry the full, unvarnished, horrifying history. Your mind will become a museum of a dead and corrupted world, a testament to failure, betrayal, and decay. You will be the sole historian of a tragedy, forever haunted by the ghosts of what you have seen. This is a mortal's impossible choice, a final, terrible test. It is a choice that transcends the mere events of this lost city. It is a question about the nature of memory itself. What is its purpose? Is it to preserve an ideal that can inspire, even if it is false? Or is it to record the stark, brutal facts of existence, no matter how painful as a warning? This is the eternal conflict between the poet and the historian, the myth maker and the record keeper. It is a choice countless cultures have faced, to sanitize their past into a glorious founding myth, or to confront the uncomfortable, often brutal, realities of their own history. You look at Hespera. Her face is calm, her eyes clear. She has already made her peace. She, the Oath Keeper, devoted her life to a pact that was rotten from the start. She would choose the truth, you know. She would choose to remember the failure, to honor the reality of the end. You clutch the keystone. The blue light pulses faster, brighter, awaiting your decision. The black sludge is now licking at the edges of the dais, inches from your feet. The spire groans its final death rattle around you. Do you grant Ethelberg a beautiful, merciful oblivion in your memory, letting it die as a perfect dream? Or do you honor its tragic existence by remembering its every flaw, its every agony, its every mistake? Your choice will not change the outcome. The city's gone, the gods are dead, the darkness has won. Got their decision will define the nature of your own eternity. It will determine whether you become a vessel for a beautiful lie or a monument to a terrible truth. With the black tide of dissolution lapping at your feet, the final question is not for the gods or the city or the universe. It is for you and you alone. Who are you? Are you the guardian of a dream or the keeper of a nightmare? Word count 1_010 awaiting continue. The tomb world of submerged mountains and black water dissolves. The pulling sensation intensifies. A violent, disorienting journey back across the threshold of reality. You are a projectile being fired from one universe to another. The silent, crushing pressure of the deep ocean is replaced by the shriek of warring energies. The colors and sounds of your journey, a chaotic, meaningless blur. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it ends. You are standing in the spire, but it is not the crumbling, war-torn spire of the final moments. It is the spire from when you first arrived, whole, pristine, glowing with a soft, pearlescent light. The air is filled with the gentle, sorrowful murmur of a million whispers. The sunstone, cracked and dead, still rests on the obsidian altar. The body of the patron god still lies on the central dais, but it is different. The slow dissolution has stopped. The encroaching sludge is gone. He is simply as he was, a beautiful, marble-like figure, lost in his eternal, silent slumber. A deep, resonant chime, the sound of a single, massive bronze bell, echoes through the spire. It is not a sound of alarm or violence, but of finality. A proclamation, a decree. As the chime fades, a profound change sweeps through the chamber. The patron god on the dais begins to glow with a soft silver light. His form becomes indistinct, losing its sharp human edges. He is not waking up, he is sublimating, his physical form converting into pure conceptual energy. This is the patron's final, silent decree. This is the true failsafe that was triggered by his dissolution. His consciousness is gone, erased in the struggle with the banished one. But his body, its divine essence remains, and it is now executing its last pre-programmed command. This is not a thinking being making a choice. It is a complex machine running its ultimate protocol. It's a beautifully tragic piece of mythological logic, reminiscent of the historical story of the king's two bodies. A medieval political theory that distinguished between the mortal, fallible body of the king and the immortal, infallible body of the monarchy itself. The patron's mortal body has died, but his immortal royal body is now enacting its final immutable law. His dissolving form releases a wave of pure silver energy that washes through the spire. It is not a destructive force, but a transformative one. As the wave passes over the cracked sunstone, the lens does not heal. Instead, it crumbles into a pile of fine golden dust. The obsidian altar beneath it softens, loses its shape, and flows like wax, becoming a simple, unadorned part of the pearlescent floor. Every artifact of power, every instrument of the pact, is being decommissioned, their purpose rendered obsolete. The energy wave continues outward, passing through you without effect. You are just a ghost here, an observer. It flows out of the spire and across the entire city of Ethelberg. The sky, which had returned to its cracked ochre state, begins to heal. The fissures seal themselves, the pulsing eyes of the observers are snuffed out, and the ugly bruised color softens. Returning to the calm, gentle violet of the eternal twilight, The black ash that coated the streets and buildings vanishes, revealing the pristine bronze and stone beneath. The spectral citizens in the market, who had been fading into nothing, solidify once more into their shimmering, ghostly forms and resume their sad, endless bartering. The city has been reset, but it is a reset with a bizarre and terrible twist. It is not a restoration to its former glory. It is a transition into a new state of being. The patron god's final act was not to save his city, but to perfect its stasis. He has sacrificed his own remaining essence to lock the city into a permanent, unchangeable loop. He has transformed Ethelberg from a dying kingdom into a flawless, eternal museum exhibit, just as the stargazer described. The citizens are no longer slowly fading. Their hollowness is now a permanent, stable state. The decay has been halted, but at the cost of any remaining possibility of change or life. The patron has become the pact. His body is the new mortar in the sky, his essence, the new energy source for the market pedestals. He has turned himself into the city's eternal, unthinking battery. He has made his people's prison into a perfect, inescapable paradise of repetition. It is an act of supreme, selfless, and utterly horrifying love. As the silver light fades, and the city settles into its new, perfect stillness, a single final whisper from the sublimated patron echoes not in your mind, but in the very stones of the spire. It is not a word, but a feeling, a sense of duty fulfilled, of a promise kept, no matter the cost. His final decree was a sacrifice to protect not the lives of his people, but the soul of the city he had created. He saved the idea of Ethelberg at the cost of everything else. The reset is complete. The city is now a perfect, self-sustaining loop, a ghost story that will repeat itself forever with no audience. The question that hangs in the now pristine, silent spire is one of profound philosophical horror. Is this eternal, unchanging peace, a form of salvation, or is it the most perfect and inescapable hell imaginable? Word count, 1083, awaiting continue. The final resonant chime of the patron's sacrifice fades, leaving a silence in the spire that is heavier and more profound than any that came before. It is the silence of absolute eternal stasis. The city of Ethelberg is now a perfect, hermetically sealed snow globe of sorrow, destined to repeat its last day for an eternity, powered by the ghost of its dead god. You are the only anomaly, the only thing in this reality that is not part of the loop. The keystone in your hand, its purpose of imprinting the truth onto your soul now complete, begins to glow with a soft, white light. It is time for the witness to be expelled. The light envelops you. It is not a violent translocation like the stargazer's summons. It is a gentle, inexorable pull, a force that is not moving you through space, but extruding you from this plane of existence. As you begin to fade, your ghostly form becoming translucent, you look down from the spire one last time. You see the shimmering citizens in the plaza, forever trading memories they no longer truly possess. You see the silent bronze automatons at the gate, their amber eyes staring into an eternity of nothing. You see a world saved from destruction, but condemned to meaninglessness. It is a beautiful, heartbreaking, and utterly static tableau. Then, you witness the final miracle, the great forgetting. As you are pulled away, the white light that surrounds you intensifies. But it also begins to radiate outward from you, sweeping across the city like a gentle, cleansing wave. This is the Keystone's final protocol: cleanup. It is a wave of pure, absolute erasure, but it is not erasing the city. It is erasing the memory of the city from everything but you. You watch as the wave of forgetting washes over the Bronze Guardians. The data of your passage, the ghost of your arrival that was recorded in their ancient mechanisms, is wiped clean. The gate never opened for an outsider. No one ever arrived. The wave passes over the loom of the weaver in her cavern deep below. The threads of your journey, the chaotic knots you caused, the black stains of the banished one, they all unravel and vanish, the tapestry returning to its simple, endless pattern of looped lives. The wave touches the Sibyl's chamber, and the ashes of her prophecies are scattered. The memory of your visit turned to dust. The guide's hidden pathways collapse, his bargains unwritten from the fabric of reality. The stargazer's observatory, perched at the edge of the world, is simply gone, its paradoxical existence erased from the timeline. Every trace of the crisis, every piece of evidence that the loop was ever threatened, is being meticulously deleted. This is not a simple act of magic. It is a profound act of cosmic redaction. It is a process that brings to mind the Roman practice of asterisk damnatio, memoria asterisk, the damnation of memory, where a person, usually a disgraced emperor, would be erased from all public records. Their statues were destroyed, their names chiseled off inscriptions. It was an attempt to retroactively remove a person from history itself. The keystone is performing this ritual on an entire sequence of events, ensuring that the perfect, sealed loop of Ethelberg can never again be contaminated by the memory of its own near destruction. The most bizarre and chilling aspect of this great forgetting is its effect on the very concept of the deities involved. The stargazer, the storm gods, the banished one, they are not just forgotten by the city. Their very connection to this reality is being severed. The fissures in the sky did not just heal. They were unhappened. The invasion never occurred. The betrayal was a dream that no one remembers. The city's history is being edited down to a single, perfect, and endlessly repeating sentence. Ethelberg exists in peace. The wave of white light finally recedes, collapsing back into the keystone in your hand. The city below is now pristine, perfect, and utterly ignorant of the apocalypse it just survived. It is a closed system once more, but now it is truly and absolutely sealed. No one can get in, and no one can get out. Its story has been finalized, its last chapter erased, leaving only the eternally repeating first page. You are now the only being in the entire cosmos who knows that any of it ever happened. The keystone did not just make you the historian. It made you the only asterisk history. The burden of that knowledge, the weight of an entire lost world's truth, settles upon you as the light of the keystone flares one last time, pulling you completely from the static perfection of Ethelberg. You are cast out, a lonely ark, carrying the memory of a drowned world. As you fall back toward your own reality, a final, terrible question crystallizes in the void. You chose to remember the truth. But what is the value of a truth that can never be told? A history that no one else will ever believe? Word count, 1084, awaiting continue. The final resonant chime of the patron's sacrifice fades, leaving a silence in the spire that is heavier and more profound than any that came before. It is the silence of absolute eternal stasis. The city of Ethelberg is now a perfect, hermetically sealed snow globe of sorrow, destined to repeat its last day for an eternity, powered by the ghost of its dead god. You are the only anomaly, the only thing in this reality that is not part of the loop. The keystone in your hand, its purpose of imprinting the truth onto your soul now complete, begins to glow with a soft, white light. It is time for the witness to be expelled. The light envelops you. It is not a violent translocation like the stargazer's summons. It is a gentle, inexorable pull, a force that is not moving you through space, but extruding you from this plane of existence. As you begin to fade, your ghostly form becoming translucent, you look down from the spire one last time. You see the shimmering citizens in the plaza, forever trading memories they no longer truly possess. You see the silent bronze automatons at the gate, their amber eyes staring into an eternity of nothing. You see a world saved from destruction, but condemned to meaninglessness. It is a beautiful, heartbreaking, and utterly static tableau. Then you witness the final miracle, the great forgetting. As you are pulled away, the white light that surrounds you intensifies. But it also begins to radiate outward from you, sweeping across the city like a gentle, cleansing wave. This is the Keystone's final protocol: cleanup. It is a wave of pure, absolute erasure, but it is not erasing the city. It is erasing the memory of the city from everything but you. You watch as the wave of forgetting washes over the Bronze Guardians. The data of your passage, the ghost of your arrival that was recorded in their ancient mechanisms, is wiped clean. The gate never opened for an outsider. No one ever arrived. The wave passes over the loom of the weaver in her cavern deep below. The threads of your journey, the chaotic knots you caused, the black stains of the banished one, they all unravel. and vanish, the tapestry returning to its simple, endless pattern of looped lives. The wave touches the Sibyl's chamber, and the ashes of her prophecies are scattered. The memory of your visit turned to dust. The guide's hidden pathways collapse, his bargains unwritten from the fabric of reality. The stargazer's observatory, perched at the edge of the world, is simply gone, its paradoxical existence erased from the timeline. Every trace of the crisis, every piece of evidence that the loop was ever threatened, is being meticulously deleted. This is not a simple act of magic. It is a profound act of cosmic redaction. It is a process that brings to mind the Roman practice of asterisk damnatio, memoria asterisk, the damnation of memory, where a person, usually a disgraced emperor, would be erased from all public records. Their statues were destroyed, their names chiseled off inscriptions. It was an attempt to retroactively remove a person from history itself. The keystone is performing this ritual on an entire sequence of events, ensuring that the perfect, sealed loop of Ethelberg can never again be contaminated by the memory of its own near destruction. The most bizarre and chilling aspect of this great forgetting is its effect on the very concept of the deities involved. The stargazer, the storm gods, the banished one, they are not just forgotten by the city. Their very connection to this reality is being severed. The fissures in the sky did not just heal. They were unhappened. The invasion never occurred. The betrayal was a dream that no one remembers. The city's history is being edited down to a single, perfect, and endlessly repeating sentence. Ethelberg exists in peace. The wave of white light finally recedes, collapsing back into the keystone in your hand. The city below is now pristine, perfect, and utterly ignorant of the apocalypse it just survived. It is a closed system once more, but now it is truly and absolutely sealed. No one can get in, and no one can get out. Its story has been finalized, its last chapter erased, leaving only the eternally repeating first page. You are now the only being in the entire cosmos who knows that any of it ever happened. The keystone did not just make you the historian. It made you the only asterisk history. The burden of that knowledge, the weight of an entire lost world's truth, settles upon you as the light of the keystone flares one last time, pulling you completely from the static perfection of Ethelberg. You are cast out, a lonely ark, carrying the memory of a drowned world. As you fall back toward your own reality, a final, terrible question crystallizes in the void. You chose to remember the truth. But what is the value of a truth that can never be told? A history that no one else will ever believe? Word count, 1084, awaiting continue. The fall back into your own world is a jarring, violent re-entry. The gentle white light of the keystone's expulsion gives way to a chaotic tumble through sensory noise. You feel the wrenching disorientation of space and time reasserting their familiar brutal laws. Then, with a gasp that feels like your first breath, you are back. You are on your hands and knees on the cold concrete floor of the museum archive. The air smells not of salt and ozone, but of dust, old paper, and the faint chemical temps of preservative agents. The low familiar hum of the dehumidifiers fills the silence. The single, bare fluorescent bulb overhead flickers, then buzzes back to life, casting the room in a sterile white glare. Outside, you can hear the faint sound of rain pattering against the high basement window, the last vestiges of a simple terrestrial storm. You push yourself up, your limbs trembling, your body slick with a cold sweat that feels unnervingly like sea spray. Your clothes are bone dry. You look at your hands. They are clean, free of the black grit of Ethelberg's shore. You frantically check your waistband. The keystone, the black stone tablet that was your passport to another world, is gone. In its place, tucked into your belt, is a simple, worn brass key. Your apartment key. The one you thought you had lost forever in the river of dissolved memories. It is as if nothing happened. You are just a linguist who stayed too late at work, fell asleep at his desk, and had a vivid, terrifyingly realistic dream. Your mind, your rational, academic mind, screams at you to accept this explanation. It is the only one that makes sense. The alternative is madness. But you cannot. The experience is not a fading dream. It is a scar across time, burned into the core of your being. You can still feel the hollow ache in your soul where the memory of your front door used to be. a psychic phantom limb that throbs with a strange sense of loss. You can still hear the whisper of the Oathkeeper, still see the galaxy-filled eyes of the stargazer, still feel the utter despair of watching a world dissolve into nothing. These are not dream images. They are memories, as real and solid as the concrete floor beneath your feet. You stumble over to the wooden crate, the one marked miscellaneous votives. Its contents are scattered on your work table, just as you left them. Bronze figurines, pottery shards, but the spot where the black tablet had been is empty. There is no indentation in the dust, no sign it was ever there. You frantically search the crate, your hands shaking, but you know it is useless. The great forgetting was absolute. The keystone not only erased itself from Ethelberg, it erased itself from your world as well, as unhappened itself, leaving you with a story that has no beginning, no proof, no artifact to anchor it in reality. The weight of this realization is crushing. You are forever changed by the vision. The world you have returned to, the world of deadlines, and academic journals and traffic seems flimsy, unreal, a thin veil draped over the terrifying, cosmic truths you now know. You walk through your life, but you are not truly in it. You are a ghost, haunted by a history that does not exist. The quiet hum of an air conditioner reminds you of the market pedestals. The taste of salt in your food brings back the terrifying, intelligent ocean. A cloudy sky seems to be on the verge of cracking. This phenomenon, this feeling of dislocation after a profound experience, has a name in our world. It's a recurring theme in the stories of heroes and mystics who journey to other worlds, from Odysseus struggling to readjust to life in Ithaca, to modern accounts of spiritual awakenings that leave people feeling alienated from their former lives. The journey changes the traveler so profoundly that home is no longer home. You have become a permanent exile in your own life. You try to speak of it once. You attempt to explain what you saw to a trusted colleague, framing it as a bizarre, recurring dream. He listens patiently, then suggests you take a long vacation, that you've been working too hard. You see in his eyes not disbelief, but a kind, clinical concern. You are a problem to be solved, a machine that is malfunctioning. You never speak of it again. You are trapped. The stargazer's prophecy was crueler than you could have imagined. He did not just make you the sole witness. He returned you to a world that is structurally incapable of understanding your testimony. You are a prophet with a revelation that is untranslatable. A historian whose primary source is his own, unprovable sanity. The truth of Ethelberg is a fire in your mind, a story that demands to be told. But you are its only vessel, and you are locked in a world that has no room for it. The question that follows you through the long, sleepless nights, the question that has become the new silent center of your existence, is this: what is the difference between being the sole keeper of a forgotten truth and simply being insane? Word count 1066, awaiting continue. Years pass. You left the museum, the archive, the world of cataloged dust. The rational academic framework of your former life became a cage too small to hold the immensity of what you carry. You live now in a small, isolated house on a cliff overlooking the sea. The same sea that batters the shores of Crete. The same sea that holds the re-world ruins of Acrotiri and countless other forgotten settlements. You are close to the water, always. It is the only thing that feels honest anymore. You are the burden of the sole witness. The story of Ethelberg is not a memory you can access. It is the landscape of your mind. You do not recall it. You inhabit it. When a storm rolls in, you feel the phantom crackle of the storm god's fury. On clear nights, you find yourself searching the sky for alien constellations. Your heart aching with a homesickness for a place that never was. They have become a living library containing a single impossible book, a bard whose epic will never be sung. This is the curse of oral traditions, a concept you once studied academically. Its great epics, like the *Iliad*, or the *Odyssey*, existed for centuries only, in the minds of poets, passed down through generations. But if a single generation failed to pass it on, the story would vanish forever. You are that entire tradition, that entire lineage of poets compressed into one fragile mortal mind. When you are gone, Ethelberg will suffer its second and final death. You have developed a strange, private ritual. Every evening at twilight, you walk down to the shore, and find a single, smooth black stone. You hold it in your hand, its coolness a faint echo of the keystone, and you whisper the names into the wind. Haspra, the stargazer. You even whisper the guttural, its forbidden name of the banished one. It is a desperate and lonely act of remembrance, a way to keep the characters of your internal tragedy from fading. You are the only god this dead world has left, and your ritual is the only worship they will ever receive. It is a bizarre, sacred duty. You are the keeper of their ghosts, the stargazer one. You understand that now with a clarity that offers no comfort. His victory was more complete than you could have imagined. He didn't just want an eternal witness. He wanted to create the perfect myth, a story that is pure, undiluted, and completely isolated from the corrupting influence of belief, disbelief, or interpretation. A story that exists only in its platonic, ideal form. You are not a person anymore. You are a reliquary. Your consciousness is the vessel, and the story of Ethelberg is the holy relic within. Your life is no longer your own. It is the price of the story's perfect, sterile immortality. You often walk the cliffs at night, looking out over the dark water. You think of the patron god, his final, horrifying act of love, transforming his kingdom into a perfect, static prison to protect its soul. You realize, with a chilling sense of irony, that you have become the same thing. You have locked the story of Ethelberg away inside yourself, protecting its truth from a world that would dismiss it as madness or twist it into cheap fiction. You have become the city's final spire, its last silent warden. The sea breeze is cold on your face. The waves crash against the rocks below, a steady, rhythmic, eternal sound. You are old now. The end of your own story is no longer a distant abstraction. The library is preparing to close. You look up at the familiar, comforting patterns of the stars in your own sky, a sky that is never cracked. You hold the entire truth of a lost cosmos in your mind, a truth you chose to carry. And as you stand there, on the precipice between the living world and the one you carry within, the final, inescapable question rises. It is the question that has defined your life since the day you were cast back. Your burden has been to keep this story pure and safe in silence. But is the final duty of the witness to take the story to the grave, granting it a perfect final peace, or is it to tell it just once to anyone who will listen and release it into the world, even if it means the truth will be shattered into 1,000 unbelievable pieces? And so, the story ends, as all stories must. The weight of Ethelberg, the sorrow of Hespera, the cold logic of the stargazer, they are not yours to carry any longer. Let the memory of the city that never was fade like a dream upon waking. The telling is over. The burden is lifted. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet, the quiet air of your own reality settling around you once more. The whispers of the spire are gone, replaced by the gentle, familiar sounds of your own world. The epic is over. The silence that follows is not the silence of a forgotten god, but the simple, peaceful quiet of an ended tale. Now, close your eyes, listen to the quiet, and rest.